afternoon, good morning, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Brawl Stars Championship. I am Ark, and this is Teddie, and we are going to have a big fun-packed day today in the South Latam region.
Yeah, I'm really excited about today's matches. We have some great teams, some great stuff, a very new scene as well, with a lot of different teams coming back in, some teams disappearing as well. So it's going to be really interesting, Ark.
Yeah, absolutely. There's gonna be some fantastic games today, as we've had all through the week. We had some great games in the Asia regions yesterday. If you watched them, go check out the VODs. Really interesting metas happening on that side of things. But you know, to get to this stage has been a real battle for many of these teams, going through the in-game challenge with only 3 available losses to be used at your disposal, and then into the Swiss format for the monthly qualifiers to reach today's point. Teams have gone a long way, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long journey. It starts off with millions of players. At the end, there's only a couple left in the monthly finals, and this is going to decide who the best players and teams are in Latam. Here is the format. So it's going to be 8 teams, single elimination bracket. For the first round, the quarterfinals, it's going to be a best of 3 sets, best of 3 games. Later on, semis and finals are going to be best of 5 sets. And this year, Ark, we have 2 brawler bans per team. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, the brawl bans make a huge difference. It's the best chance for teams to eradicate a really strong brawler that's running riot in the meta. There will be blind bans as well, so we may see duplications there as well. Both teams can effectively ban Byron. It will only count once, but as you don't know what the other team is banning, you have to kind of weigh up as to whether you want to take that risk and leave something potentially open, or just shut it down from the get-go.
Yeah, exactly. So much more strategy in the whole banning process. This is going to open up so many new possibilities for comps. You can have some more targeted bans as well. So I'm really looking forward to see how this is going to impact Latam. And this year, there is a lot on the line, Ark. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
So much on the line. Over $1 million of prize money is at stake. So everything is, it's waiting to be taken by a team. They've just got to rise to the occasion and get the job done. And that's easier said than done. There's so many things which can obviously affect the matter. And let's take a look just now at what games we're going to see today. And maybe you can talk us through, Teddy, the ones that you're most looking forward to.
Yeah, to kick things off, we are going to start with CYP F versus Hibou Gaming. Afterwards, we'll move on to Free Agents versus Vegas Scorpions, INTZ versus Marrento Esports, and then finally Clash Latam versus Underrated FA. So we have some exciting quarterfinals already. Obviously, we'll see more in the semis and in the grand finals too. Do you have a particular match you're looking forward to tonight?
I gotta say, I'm particularly looking forward to seeing how INTZ fare, as they did reach the grand finals last year, came just short to PSG in terms of getting their hands on the actual trophy. And not sure where this year's trophy has gone to, but we might look at a bit more into that later on today. But yeah, INTZ definitely have a lot of eyes on them today, so I'll be very curious to see how they start the season.
Yeah, especially with all the roster changes the team has had. Not a lot of the core players are left in the team. They are spread across multiple teams, which we will see a couple today, so I'm excited about that one. But yeah, moving on to our first match here. Do you have any thoughts?
I'll be honest, both teams are relatively unknown to me, so I'm not too sure as to who's going to come out victorious. The team player names on the screen for us there. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, based on everything that I know about the teams and the players, kind of an open call. But what I will be looking forward to the most is seeing, first and foremost, what kind of brawler choices they ban, what kind of brawlers they take into the match, and their ability to kind of switch things up as they go along. That's kind of the first thing I'm going to look for with both of these two teams is, do they choose brawlers which to me would be right for that map in terms of the meta? Are they kind of something on the more crazy line of things and going with something a bit more adventurous and having it pay off? Those are the sort of early signs I'll be looking out for.
Yeah, I really agree. I think really here, it's a chance for those teams to really get on the map, to really show what they are worth in the competitive scenes. It's kind of their first impression as well for us, so I'm really excited to see how they're going to be playing tonight.
Exactly that. This is their moment to shine, and the first stage is going to be in the bans, and here we have them. And for me, I don't know about you, Teddie, pretty much what I was hoping and kind of expecting to see. Amber and Byron for CYP, and then the other side of things, Mr. P and Colonel Ruffs. So yeah, definitely 4 big front runners taken out of the mix for sure early on.
Yeah, I think those are pretty much standard bans. Mr. P is really the more interesting pick. I mean, we've seen it banned a lot, but Ruffs, Amber, Byron, they're pretty much banned every single game so far. So yeah, I think Mr. P is going to be quite helpful, going to provide a bit less of that spam and those opportunities where you can just move forward and roll onto your enemies. So I think it makes sense, especially if you look at like Ice Forge, Shooting Star, Nuts and Bolts, all maps where Mr. P is definitely a viable option. So I like that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Really have to bear in mind these bans go across the entirety of the set. So Mr. P definitely seems like a good brawler to get out of the mix for me. But as we see already, Sprout is the one that I think is going to be the most prominent going into the other game modes also. But Rosa as well, such a strong brawler, as is Colette right now in the meta. So definitely still a lot of options available to these players.
Yeah, I really like that the matchup on the left lane. I mean, Rosa has been so dominant lately on this map, but obviously Colette is a direct counter to those tanker brawlers, so she's gonna have a blast at taking her down. Rody falls once more, and so far we have a pretty close start.
Because I like the right hand line as well with the 8-bit off, as it does seem like Hibou's starting to take the mid more at the moment, and down goes the Rose. That might change things as well as VC starts to gain some control over the mid. Placing that wall's a really smart play as well, just eradicating the opposing Sprout from the mix. Some nice damage, but it does seem now that Hibou is starting to regroup and looking to assault the mid again.
Yeah, there's an interesting situation though. Maxi is alone defending those gems that got dropped down. There is not really an opportunity here for CYP to go pick it up, so they're just gonna keep control. They have it anyways, so get that countdown slowly ready. They're gonna be on 7 gems soon enough, maybe even 8. Rody looking to maybe push up on VT Zim, but he isn't gonna go too aggressively just yet because Kyozera is able to punish him once more.
I really like the angle there from Kyozera, just to kind of shut down the left-hand side lane and pinch from 2 different opposing angles to allow VCSim to control the mid more. They've got to be cautious going into the spawn, and they are doing so in a nice sort of flow and motion here, not too early. They'll be very cautious to continue the pressure here, but for the most part, down goes the gem carry as well. Nice pressure, continuation pressure on that left-hand side lane. I really like what I'm seeing early on from CYP.
Yeah, that little final wall there to lock himself down, protect himself from the Rosa, that was great. I think the really interesting part here in this match was Kyozera on that Colette. Obviously, if you look at the matchup, we have a mirror matchup on the middle and on the right lane. So the only natural advantage you have is going to be that Colette versus Rosa matchup. And he played it extremely well. He got very aggressive, managed to absolutely dominate his lane. And whenever he did, he just created that extra space to go peek on the sides and help his teammates out on their own respective lanes as well. So it just shows how winning your lane can literally impact the entire match.
Yeah, exactly that. And here we see a comparison between VTSim and Maxi as well. And VTSim definitely getting himself more kills. So that's always a good start. You know, getting your opponents taken out the mix allows the focus to shift and the 3 versus 2 to take effect. I mean, for me, you know, I think Rose there is a great option. Don't get me wrong, but Colette is a tank killer. She's a great counter to any kind of tankier brawler. We are going to see a change in that respect, and we are going to see Edgar taking things into the mix for Hibou. Not sure what you think of that pick, Teddie, and how that might affect things moving forwards. I kind of didn't quite expect it, but I guess trying to narrow the gap potentially towards the Colette is the idea here.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be easier to get up close against the Colette, but even then, I mean, you know, you always have that 2-tap risk. It is going to be a good jump onto VT, but he somehow hits every single shot up close. It was quite impressive, and he's going to win that fight.
And for me as well, I just don't know whether Edgar is really going to come out on top against Colette with the ability to push away. I mean, providing the star powers push it, then that could be a great deterrent on the Edgar side. But no, it doesn't seem to be affecting right now CYP's ability to control the mid and to be banking gems. Already 7 in the pocket, so a really good start. And if they just keep Brody under a close watch and eye, I think they should be okay here.
Yeah, it's not looking too bad. For CYP, there's a jump in from Rody, gets melted down, and that's going to be a bit of the problem. Even though, you know, Edgar is a bit easier to get up close, and he does have that lifesteal that can make the difference in a fight against a Colette, because, you know, against a Colette, it's a perfect damage fight where Colette just deals just enough damage to kill you. Just a little bit of healing can make you tank an extra shot, but so far it doesn't really seem like he can even get up close and deal any damage, get any benefit from that life steal. Only 5 seconds left, and Hibou, they don't really seem to be able to pick any of the important kills, any of the gem carriers, and that's going to be a win once again. That's set already for CYP FA.
Yeah, already a great start. Just racing through gem grab, it seems. I gotta say, I did like the choice of brawlers. I think that they didn't really have any need to mix things up when it was really the Rosa play on Hibou's side of things, which needs to be adjusted, and you know, just a really good ability to control the map. That's what I kind of took away from their playstyle, and just very, very good at getting the angles in all the right places.
Yeah, I think the comps were a bit more on point for CYP, to be honest, even though it was, you know, for the most part a mirror matchup. That Colette pick was just that much more versatile. It's really hard to counter, and it counters all the tanks, and the fact that they kind of brought in like one tank or one, you know, Edgar is kind of a tank to a certain extent with the life steal. So I just feel like they were a bit more on point on the comps, and it really made a difference. They played it excellent on the other sides of the map as well.
Looking at the stats then as well, Kaiser again on top with 4 kills. 0 kills on Roddy's side. Definitely needs to be something that which changes going into to Bounty. Up next is kill differential is going to make a big difference. 5 deaths compared to 0 as well is the story on that picture for me. So, you know, not much time now, you know, for Hibou to pick things up. This could be the final set that we see them play today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that especially, you know, a brawler such as Edgar is kind of a hyper carry brawler. It's the kind of brawler you want to dominate the field, to jump in left and right, get kills all over the place, and not getting a single one and dying 5 times just shows how there was a bit of a lack of impact. And in Bounty, especially on an open map like Shooting Star, you are going to need to pick up those kills, getting those stacks from afar, and you know, have a bit more of an impact over the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, that's something which they're going to have to really focus on going into Shooting Star, which I got to say, I think there's some brawlers which stand out to me as already being out of the mix. Mr. P would have been a nice one here, but I think Tick be controlling the mid. We've seen that pretty consistently across all of the regions. Yeah, and Nanny as well as Piper. A bit of a variation though. We've got Sprout on the Hibou side, but I got to say, I kind of prefer the CYP side of things for me.
Yeah, I do, although Sprout kind of counters Piper on that lane. The problem is Kyodog is rocking that Piper on the left lane, so he's nowhere near the Sprout, so he doesn't really get as much value here, Gonza. We'll see if he can get some nice stacks. Actually, he does on VT, but it's not going to result in a kill just yet.
An early gadget from Kaiser there, just to keep things in the mix. Only the 1 start in favor of CYP, but we have seen that be all that's needed. We saw in the EMEA region that was plenty of times the deciding factor, but sometimes not even a single kill came into play. So with this particular kind of meta, with Tick being such a control-based brawler, and lanes being very cautiously defended and with a lot of space to maneuver in Shooting Star, we do tend to see a bit more of a potentially a stalemate scenario sometimes, which kind of really comes to a climax in the final seconds.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that Tick is just so good in the middle because he's so good at harassing. Plus, that new gadget, I mean, Last Hurrah is so good for picking up that middle star. I mean, if you're not really the focus of everyone, you can just pick it up. It's free. And we have a peep coming in. That's going to be a nice skill, especially since it's going to cancel a Maxi's peep as well. So really good stuff over there. A lot of value on that kill from VT Zim.
Yeah, also look out for Return to Sender, another new gadget from the Nanny side of things, and something which I've got to say, I don't really feel Hibou are really kind of using to their advantage too much to put the pressure on. Homemade recipe from Kyodog's not going to connect from the left-hand side. There is an opportunity here for Hibou to be able to pick things up, but with that takedown towards the end, I don't see it happening, and a little dance into the middle as well puts CYP onto match point.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty flawless game, to be honest, where Gem Grab was pretty one-sided as well, but there were a few more opportunities, some good fights on each lane. Here, it's kind of falling apart so far for Hibou, where CYP just looks really strong. They've been hitting their shots, they've been winning their fights, their lanes, and that's what you need in Bounty.
We have the stats, pretty low-scoring game, so no surprises there. But again, that same story of there being more kills and less deaths on the the Hibou side of things, CYP definitely for me the better team so far. And the reverse sweep is the only lifesaver here, ready for Hibou.
Yeah, exactly. As you just said, they need a reverse sweep now if they want to have a chance of winning this match. That means that they have to win 2 games of Bounty in a row and then win the next set as well. If they lose 1 game here, it's already over, and CYP is going to move on to the semifinals.
Exactly, that's when the very unforgiving stages, and it looks like Hibou know it as well with the sad face pin. Maxi, I think now running the correct star power. I'm not sure whether they were unaware of it in the previous game. I think potentially running the wrong one there. I didn't see any instance of return to sender being activated. So keep an eye on that left-hand side lane. If that shot there will come back. Ooh, that was very, very narrow escape there from Kai to avoid that attack.
Yeah, that's going to be the initial kill as well. There's a peep coming through that could be a lot of value. Maxi does manage to pop his gadget in time, and so does Rody. So not a lot of value on that super, but there is a Tig Hat coming through as well. That's a lot of damage. Once again, I mean, CYP, they have the star advantage already, and they are the ones on the offensive.
I guess I kind of like that from VTZim for me. It was kind of like a bit of a bait, really, to get the return to send to activate, and then getting a gadget out of the mix from the tick as well. I think it's kind of smart in the early game to get gadgets out of the way. A nice pickup, though, again from CYP, continuing the aggression forwards. It's a good way to start here. Another takedown, 7 stars now to nothing, and also the important blue star in the event of a tiebreaker on the side of CYP, so look out for that in the event of the score being matched.
Yeah, by the way, I think that VTZim returned to sender on that peep, and then Maxi just returned the favor and sent all the damage straight up back to VT. So a bit of an interesting interaction, something we've been seeing more and more now that Nani is so meta on this map.
Keep going in again, looking to connect, see what happens here. The Sprout, oh, the tick actually was super low, but it's actually didn't land on Maxi in the end, and it's continued the assault, 9 stars to nothing, and Kayadov not slowing down there, looking to finalize this with a nice little cheeky pin as well. It looks like this one is going to be all over in favor of CYP. They will be knocking out Hibou in the early stages.
Oh my, what a convincing set here of Bounty for CYP. I think that final kill there, where I think Kayodog fell at the end, was the only kill that or the only death on CYP's side of things for this entire set, pretty much. So very impressive, very dominant, and we are gonna have some replays, Art.
For me, I just felt like the brawler choices were there, but not only that, but also just kind of keeping themselves accurate with their shots and attention to detail when it comes to the aggression they applied. Getting the pinches we saw a lot more in Gem Grab than other game modes. Just kind of this nice chemistry between VTZim and Kaiser here, just to lock down the attention of Rody and get him out of the mix there. But in general, I got to say the control really for me was all on CYP side.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it didn't seem like they were in danger a single time in this entire match. And I'm really excited to see how they are going to be performing against some of the other teams coming into the semifinals, perhaps even the finals. Because so far, honestly, I feel like CYP FA looks very well prepared. They look like they are perfectly in shape today. So I'm expecting some good stuff from them.
Yeah, they will proceed forwards. There's going to be plenty of competition to come their way, so we'll have to wait and see how they do fare with that, and whether they do switch up any brawlers or any playstyles. You know, we've seen such a small portion of what's to come today so far, so anything can really happen moving forwards into our next games. But one thing's for sure, looking strong on the outset, and we'll just have to see whether that's a display of their competition in that particular round, or whether that's going to be something which they can continue on. But yeah, 10 stars in favor of CYP, as well as the average kills. Really nothing to show on the Hibou side of things. So for the moment, the stats definitely much in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, congrats to them, you know, for qualifying, because they had to go through so many different teams, so many different matches just to be here. But still, you know, especially in a pretty young and new scene such as Latam South, there's a lot of room of improvement. Just getting here is going to give you new opportunities to get, you know, some better scrims, some better practice, and hopefully we can see them stronger next time.
Yeah, the format is a really interesting development. New teams coming to the mix, and our next team's up, Free Agents versus Vegas Scorpions again. I'm really kind of keen to see what these two teams have to offer, and whether they're going to be names we see coming back and back every month this year, or whether we might be seeing them for the first time and never again. But nonetheless, the opportunity is there for these teams to capitalize on, and I've got to say, I'm looking forward to the next match.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can have some really nice stuff here, especially on the side of Vegas Scorpions. I've heard of Parzival last year, and actually, when I was preparing some unrelated work last year, I saw that he had some really good stats throughout the Latam South season. So we'll see how well he's going to be able to perform tonight. At least the bigger name I know in this matchup. We have the bans coming in as well, Ark.
Yeah, absolutely. Parzival's a player to definitely keep a note on as well. This Sprout, Colonel Ruffs, Amber, and Colt. Colt's the ban for me, which definitely stands out as being the one that I was least expecting. I mean, we saw various nerfs to Colt. Don't get me wrong, the Silver Bullet gadget is still very strong, and that might be the idea which Vegas Scorpions were going for to eradicate from the mix in various maps here. But yeah, what do you make of that one, Teddie?
Yeah, I mean, I already feel like Sprout is a bit of an interesting decision, at least over Byron. But Colt is just on another level. I don't think we've seen many Colt bans in this first month. We'll see how that's going to turn out. Maybe it's a bit of a targeted ban towards one of the specific players or strategies that Vegas Scorpions is aware that free agents might be using. I'm honestly not sure, but I'm a bit worried about it.
Yeah, I can't really kind of think of anything other than just maybe just some terrain damage and breaking up the map. I mean, Sticky Fields has a ton of bush in the map to be able to kind of use those Silver Bullets to get rid of some of that and see when a Rose is going to cross over. Could be the thought process there, but I just don't know whether it's really a risk at the moment. We are going to see Byron straight off the bat on the side of Vegas Scorpions, and yeah, that to me already worries me for free agents here.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused as well, because obviously Byron is the really strong brawler at the moment that managed to escape the bans for this match, and the fact that free agents don't pick him up is quite interesting. We'll see how that's all gonna work out, if they can live without him in this matchup. We have a bit of a Rosa duel on the right lane. It's a bit all over the place, but the heals provided by Parzival are just too significant in that fight. In the end, actually, it's going to be Ambassador to win that one.
Well, I'm not surprised to see Rosa here. I think Rosa, for me, is a brawler, especially with the introduction of unfriendly pushes. It just makes perfect sense to be able to seek out your opposition and display them to your entire team at the flick of a switch. I think makes a lot of sense, but a great aggressive lane side there. Didn't actually go in the favor of free agents, and it's still going to be pretty much back to square one. The ball's still in the mid, and nice aggressive stance here as well. As Vegas Scorpions look to be able to be in a good spot here to push the ball up down the map.
Yeah, we have a good push from Petzinho. That might be a goal. If he gets the shot in time, he's just going to walk it in, actually. It's going to work out.
Yeah, really nice. Just spotting the opportunity and being able to pass the ball and then activate your super and just apply that shield that you have is such a really, really strong strategy which can't be ignored here.
Exactly, so much tankiness on that Rosa, especially when you get that super available. Nice turret from Pedro Archer. Let's see, that's gonna be almost not a goal, but luckily Railson God was there to fix that problem. That's gotta be the nerves.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of one of those things where you just want to just get the ball as close to the goal as possible, and I think the circumstances were there enough to not really worry too much. There wasn't really too much action which was going to deflect it, but yeah, possibly a bit of early game nerves showing themselves here as Parzival looks to make the pass here to Young, does find it as well. The ball didn't get picked up though, and now time is ticking away here. That was a bit of an opportunity there for me, for Vegas to be able to push the ball up. Going into overtime now, the game is far from over, so the bushes and walls are about to go down, which means that Rose is going to have less of an advantage to heal, and we'll have to see whether the range of Parzival is going to be the thing here, or Pedro with the turret shots could be a good aggressive stance here.
Yeah, exactly. We have a strong push from free agents. The pass doesn't go through. Petzinho is able to get the ball away. He's going to create a bit more space for his team, but he does lose a teammate and his own life. So it's not going to be an easy task. Young Teddie trying to just take care of the scrappy turret. And it is going to be a successful defense for what was a strong push from free agents. They do have another chance here. Let's see if they can convert this one into a goal. Nice bear from Young Teddie as well. Bruce gonna be pushing forward, but a nice super as well coming in here. A lot of damage. Can the pass come true? It is going to Archer. Pedro Archer, can he go for the shot? He's gonna go for the pass instead, and it's a goal anyways.
I gotta say, that was a very valiant attempt from FREEAGENTS, which paid off really nicely. I mean, they were very slow and cautious towards the end, but bit of a slip for me from Vegas Scorpions to just kind of use Byron to, more effect. Byron is such a great late game, overtime brawler to have at your disposal, and to have that on your side and to still not come out on top, I think is definitely going to be something which Vegas Scorpions needs to consider their late game approach here. This is the point here which I've got to say, for me, some great attempts of body blocking to prevent the pass from going forwards and finding the gap so important there to take place. We see some stats here from the correlation between Ralston and young Teddie, and 4 deaths on the side of Teddie's side of things, but at the end of the day, it didn't seem to make that much difference. It was a relatively close game until overtime.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like there were some missed opportunities, especially, I think it was young Teddie near the goal towards the end, just didn't really quite manage to pick up the ball. Those are all things, similar to the shot earlier that ended just on the line when it was an open goal. I think that at this point, the players are nervous. It's one of their first times on such a high level competition, and they have to focus on, their dodging, their aim, their strategies. That's sometimes the easiest things, the simplest things. They're kind of, what you don't really overthink, and you just mess it up.
Well, I mean, it's the first day of the season for them in terms of monthly finals. There's definitely going to be some apprehensions of that, but plenty of time to mix things up as the pass does meet. And BRAWL STARS as well does get the early goal with only 20 seconds on the clock. So a really good aggressive start from FREEAGENTS, just continuing this approach. Now bringing Byron into the mix as well, I think is a really good time to do so. They could be able to get things wrapped up here quite nicely.
Yeah, that is a strong comp and a strong start as well. Archer, he's going to get stunned by the bear, I think. He's going to go down. We have a pass to young Teddie. That's an open goal that should surely go in. It's not going to stop on the line this time, and Vegas Scorpions, they tie things up.
Very, very nice equalizer. I mean, this is a bit different from the previous game, I would say, in terms of just the way it's kind of always going back and forth so much to the extreme side of things, and now the push coming from FREEAGENTS, so the pass is made to BRAWL STARS as well, just waiting patiently for that BB super to be able to connect it. We should be able to walk this in just
the trick shot!
Spins the needle to the left-hand side of the goal in a way which just was unexpected, as much as I'm sure it was to the viewers, it was for Vegas Scorpions there.
Oh my, I really love that play, man. I think that trick shots are so often, kind of a flex, but in this kind of situation, it's the perfect use for them, because he wasn't sure if he could talk it all the way through, if he could tank it all the way through. I mean, he was taking a lot of damage. He didn't have his shield anymore. That was just the smartest decision to take. And that's where, going for a trick shot is actually beneficial. Look, you'll see in a bit, his HP were just so low. And it probably wouldn't have been a goal if he didn't find that opening.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been. I think that it was the perfect decision to make at that time. I think that if he'd continued to walk it through, it would have been safe probably just off the line. We'll see in the replay in just a moment. But I got to say that was a textbook play there as to why sometimes people think that trick shots are all about sort of flashy sort of showmanship, but a lot of the time it actually is the right call to make from a strategic standpoint.
Exactly. I mean, going for something this unexpected is going to be absolutely huge. I think this is the play we're all waiting for. Look at the HP. It's so low. He was going to be dead.
Yeah,
he had no other choice, and he made the perfect play.
And a bit of a miss really from Vegas Scorpions, so just to kind of spread out a bit under those circumstances. But here we see some stats again between BRAWL STARS and Pitbull, and yeah, just much more going on the FREEAGENTS side of things. More kills, more deaths. I sometimes see as being a bit more of a sign of aggression. Sometimes I don't think necessarily deaths are something which needs to be looked at as a negative almost. Sometimes it shows that you're being more adventurous, putting yourself in more places, and having more intense lane.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to depend on your role in the team as well. Obviously, if you're a bit more of a tanky brawler that has to get up close and create a lot of pressure, you're obviously going to go down more than if you're a sniper staying in the background, or a healer such as Byron. So I think that makes a whole lot of sense. And I just want to point out one more time before we hop into that next set. Dude, getting that trick shot down, well, we could see that they were nervous. They were under so much pressure I mean, honestly, props to them. Yeah, you have to be very strong mentally to make that happen under so much pressure.
Yeah, and this is the thing where we're going to see now how that pressure continues on. Like, you know, are we going to see Vegas Scorpions start to just kind of recollect themselves? Are they going to start to, you know, buckle under the pressure? I mean, you know, I was expecting, to be honest, to see, you know, a bit of a difference. I think we might go to the third and final set here. I think there's plenty of time, especially in Heist, to kind of take a slower pace and kind of like, you know, just kind of get more control on the situation. I think Brawl could be over quite quickly with just something as small as missing a little pass here and there, which can equate to a goal. I think in Heist, it's going to be a very, very different story here for these two teams.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to depend a lot on how well Vegas Scorpions are able to get that mental reset. Because, I mean, getting 2 losses in overtime, almost overtime, in that first set, with a trick shot to close things out, that's going to be a tough loss mentally. And it's all going to be about recovering, resetting, and going into this one with a strong mental attitude.
Well, very different brawlers across the board here, really. We're going to be seeing Daryl and BB. I think 2 brawlers which are going to work out quite well here for Free Agents, potentially, as they're already on the aggression and damage. It's already starting to rain down 50% early on. And Pedro's still alive here, just swinging away and continuing the assault. That's a pretty decent amount of damage early on. Now to see now whether the Vegas Scorpions can start to bring this one back.
Yeah, I just want to point out there's 6 different brawlers on the map right now. That's not something you see every day. And that's definitely, you know, partially due to that double ban per team opportunity that teams have this year. Just so much more variety in the meta. There's a jump coming in from Railson. He does get melted down, finds a lot of damage. Let's see. Oh, that bubble is huge.
Yeah, Pedro is picking up the double kill straight on the middle of the map. And I gotta say, I did like the use of the gadget there from Jesse, just kind of continuing the fire and the pressure on the Free Agent safe. That's gonna make a big amount of difference here. A lot of shots did connect there, and already Rouse on the left-hand side, just under heavy fire from Young Teddie. Just get the takedown in the end, but what a great BB bubble through the mid.
Yeah, a lot of value on that gadget as well, getting that safe down to 58%. There is a possibility here for a push for Vegas Scorpions. They are fighting in enemy territory, getting some nice damage down, but it's not quite matching the damage that Free Agents found early on.
I gotta say, I really love that super from Young Teddie, just to kind of connect with the safe as well as force out the super from from Ralston there. But now he's approaching the safe. Is a good amount of juking as well to kind of continue to decrease the gap and wasting the super from Young Teddie, allowing the Dow to come from the backside there to get some additional damage. Quite a cllose matchup here, but it is actually going to be the Jesse in the middle getting continuation shots on the Free Agent Steph and just whistling it down slowly here.
It's only a 5% difference, and we have a Young Teddie pretty much uncontested there, getting some extra free shots, might be able to tie things up. And Brosseter so low HP as well. A push from Pedro. Archer doesn't quite manage to pick up the kill, but will clear the turret. Only 5 seconds left. It's all going to be about that final damage. You're getting that save down to 43%. How much value can they both get?
There was damage raining down on the Free Agent safe at the same time, but what a close finish, actually. I think a lot closer than we kind of made out there, as we couldn't quite see what was happening on the defensive side. But in the end, just enough damage was inflicted by Free Agents there onto the Vegas Scorpion safe. But pretty close call, especially considering the variety of brawlers that we saw on the map.
Yeah, I mean, that's a ton of fun, man. Like, I do love mirror matchups, and when the comps are very similar, because it's more about, like, you know, skill and individual plays and your strategies and all that kind of good stuff. But here, it's just so fun to have 6 different brawlers on the field that all bring their own particular elements, and that both teams seem to really have been able to use, you know, those elements to their advantage. Free Agents with a slightly, you know, a tiny bit more value in that match, managing to get that lead at the end. It was close, Ark.
Look at that stat, though. I mean, 7 more, you know, kills from from the right-hand side, and but the much more damage on the left. So, I mean, going into the next game, I've got to hope that we see some turnaround here, because otherwise we could be over this stage of the competition relatively quickly here.
Yeah, I mean, so far we've had some quick matches. We'll see if it's going to continue throughout the entire day. Obviously, right now, match point for free agents. They have been looking really strong so far. And if you look back at our previous match against CYP FA, I mean, honestly, I'm excited to watch both teams face each other in the semifinals because they have dominated through the competition so far. I want to see them getting a real challenge, you know?
That is where we're going to see the outcome, absolutely, yeah, of whether that first round was just a bit of luck, a bit of a fluke, or whether both these two teams are more evenly matched, but still a long way to go. Potentially for Vegas Scorpions, if they can start to regain some momentum here. Pedro going to go with the Rico pick. I think it's pretty a smart play, but Young Teddie is going to stick with the Rico as well, and already putting damage early on the free agent safe here.
Yeah, both teams adapting their comps. Actually, mostly it's free agents adapting their comps, which is quite interesting since they picked up the win as well. But, you know, it's going to keep it a bit more unpredictable for their opponents. So far, though, it is going to be Vegas Scorpions with a bit of a lead. Railson is going to go for the jump in. Oh, he's going to get traded out.
Yeah, I love the mid going on here. This is why I've got to say, you know, Rico for me in Hot Potatoes is such a dominant force for that mid control. But at the moment, it's definitely free agents that are on the receiving end as everyone's kind of looking to heal up here and needs to find some space to maneuvers. The right-hand side, down goes Pedro, and the shots just continuing on to Embrosador and Relson. The just the turret going down now as well. Quickly taking down, in fairness to Pedro, gets some nice shots in the meantime as Relson jumps in as well for good measure. But definitely still a lot of work to be done here as free agents are forcing themselves up the map now and looking to get some of these pesky forces, turrets on the left-hand side taken down.
Yeah, jump in from Railson on the right lane once again. He's gonna pick up the kill. He's been playing it pretty well so far. One of the most impactful Edgars we've seen for sure. Getting so many kills left and right. And even though he's not really finding a lot of value on safe, he is gonna make sure that the opponents don't find any either. They do need some value here, free agents, on those next pushes, because with only 35 seconds left, they are behind safe damage-wise.
Oh yeah, only 5% damage so far with 30 seconds left to go. This has definitely been much better from Vegas Scorpions and a much more aggressive stance and nice brawler choices, I think, making a big difference here as Young Teddie continuing to get pressure on this safe. I gotta say, for me, this is looking like Vegas Scorpions might be hanging on just a little bit longer in this competition to continue this kind of assault, but one final push for Free Agents could do a lot of damage here.
Yeah, 10 seconds left. Oh, that turret is going to deal a lot of damage. Nice bounce from Pizzinho as well. That is going to be a win for Vegas Scorpions, and they are back in this match. Finally, something going their way. And now, I mean, it's still going to be match point for free agents, but at least now Vegas Scorpions, they're one away from tying things up, moving on to that third set.
Yeah, it's quite amazing how quickly things can turn around. Going from potentially leaving the competition to only one win in Heist away from leveling up the playing field. So this is really going to even things out quite considerably as the momentum of that win may very well give Vegas Scorpions an edge here. We see a big difference in the stats this time around. Pedro didn't get any damage at all on this safe, whereas Young Teddie getting a nice solid 10,000. More kills on Teddie's side of things, less on Pedro's side, and more deaths with Pedro. So stats definitely looking in the way of Vegas Scorpions that time around.
Yeah, this match is really interesting, particularly this set, because in the end, it's free agents that switched up their brawlers. Vegas Scorpions kept pretty much the same comp, I believe, than in game one. And now that we have those mirror matchups or closer to mirror matchups, it just went the way of Vegas Scorpions. They managed to win their fights, and now we had Young in the middle in that 1v1, Rico 1v1, and he just managed to find way more value. I mean, as you said, 0 damage on the blue Rico. Vegas Scorpions Rico finding 10,000 damage, just getting so much value on those bounces.
Big change though. Vegas Scorpions going to come in with Byron and Colette. I've got to say, I think Colette's going to work out relatively well here, and I mean, Byron is a really solid brawler in most instances. I'm just not sure whether he's my go-to in this scenario here, but now Pizzinho trying to get into a bit of a spot here where, yeah, Pedro's no idea where he is. Probably one shot away from Super now, going to get it and get that Super raining down on the safe early on behalf of Vegas Scorpions then.
Yeah, and each Super is going to be 13% damage. That's quite a lot of free damage. It's so hard to stop. A nice bounce. Oh my. That was quite impressive. And suddenly things are turning around here as we are almost all tied up.
What a super from BRAWL STARS there, just getting so much value as well on the safe, not just on the opposition. And again, continuing, this could be very much edging more towards free agents, moving into the next round here as Vegas Scorpions are scattered and definitely flustered, and the Jesse shots continue to bounce around in their spawn.
Yeah, Percival finally is gonna stop that Rico madness, but Ambrosador is going to be defending, finding quite a lot of value all over the place. Once more, Patino with a nice super. This is going to put them 3% away from taking back the lead. Patino pushing up the middle as well, looking for some nice value on Pedro. He's going to take him down. This looking quite good for Vegas, I have to say.
Yeah, let's see what Vegas Scorpions do here, as they have got the portals to hand as well, just coming down, and BRAWL STARS missing the super there. I think he may have they actually connected a little bit with the Colette, I believe, on the top part of the map. But I like the positioning here of just trying to shut down this right-hand side lane. But look at Patino now just going for the mid. More damage coming in. Parcel staying alive, just about goes down there. But I think some damage raining down on both sides. So a bit of a base race going on, and it's BRAWL STARS getting a ton of damage. But look at this, it's so close, Teddie.
Oh my, Vegas 2% in the lead right now, but free agents, they have a final push coming through. Scrampy placed down. There's going to be a lot of damage. That's enough.
What a finish. My goodness me, that was honestly so close towards the end, but just about in the favor then of free agents, who will be knocking out Vegas Scorpions there.
Yeah, I mean, I was starting to believe in the comeback for Vegas Scorpions, but free agents, they turn things around. And I have to say, I mean, for me, that's going to be Ambrosador with some insane Rico action. Rico, one of the best brawlers regarding map knowledge. You just need to know where you can get value on those bounces. And when you do, you know, have such good map knowledge like he does, you just have infinitely more angles you can shoot your opponents at.
I gotta say, BRAWL STARS for me had an amazing round in that last round of heist there, just getting so much value as Rico, and the final damage was definitely him as well onto the safe. Just a really good aggressive play just when it mattered the most, and kind of surprised Vegas Scorpions will be leaving the competition at this stage, because Parsifal was definitely a favorite that I had in my eye on. So yeah, big surprise in this early stage of the competition.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's going to be, you know, the big roster changes as the season starts. Not always going to turn out amazing. And yeah, look at that super. That's ridiculous, man. Yeah. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, a ton of value as well from the Jesse, from Pedro, just getting great uses of gadget there as well. You see BRAWL STARS just using the walls to great effect there, just to maximize on damage. But really good lane control and just shutting down those angles. Didn't really give Vegas Scorpions much really to work with.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, something I thought was really cool as well. I mean, we have a couple of stats here, a bit more damage on young Todd overall, but I mean, something that I think made a big difference and I really liked in the strategy from free agents in that high set is going to be the fact that they were hunting for kills before going for damage. And usually in heist, you know, whenever you can get a shot on the safe, you kind of go for it. Especially with the brawlers they were running. But Ambrosador, for example, he had some free shots multiple times because he was winning his lane so consistently, but then he just went and helped out his teammate. So instead of him being the only one dealing some damage output, he had the entire team push up, keep in control because they kept getting the kills.
Yeah, just getting that nice balance between aggression and defense, and just you know, helping out your teammates and giving them the opportunity to shine as well. And you know, it's never I think heist is a much easier game to watch than it is to actually play and be making those decisions on the fly and you know, going through the motions. But let's take a look back at the bracket, see how far we've come along today and what is left to come. As we've seen already, some exciting games, but pretty much on the more one-sided way of things. CYP will be going through to the semifinals to face against free agents. But up next, INTZ versus Marrento Esports.
Yeah, I mean, INTZ definitely going to be the favorites in this one, particularly since Marrento is a bit of a newer team as well, not quite as well known as INTZ, the Titans, the representatives for Latam South last year at the World Finals. So yeah, I think this should be a pretty safe one for INTZ, but we've had some surprises, especially if you look at those roster changes. I mean, Parseval was one of the best players in Latam South last year. This year, he's gonna be out in the round of 8. So I'm honestly expecting anything at this point.
Big upsets, plenty more to come. 2 quarterfinals down. Teddie, we're going to let you go just for a moment, and we're going to bring in PrettyHair when we come back. But first, a word from our sponsors.
What's that smell? Is it petrol? Is something burning? No, it's the smell of victory. Resurgent by Chromatique, the essence of winning.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Latin American South. Ark, I gotta say, you got the broadcast smelling nice for me. Is that Chromatique that you're wearing?
How did you know? I mean, yeah.
That, honestly, the first time I saw that, dude, I thought it was like you voicing that. Like, it sounded like, I was like, is that? Because I know you did the grind guides, and I was like, is that Ark doing the Chromatique bit too?
You know what? The first time I saw that, I had it muted, and I was watching it thinking, is that our trophy? Is that this year's trophy? Oh no! What have they done?
That's a good thing that you bring up. I mean, we still don't really know where the trophy has gone. I mean, that's a mystery that we have to kind of solve throughout the season. Great game so far today. I mean, that heist set had me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, it was particularly close towards the end, actually, and Vegas Scorpions with a bit of a chance to bring things back around, but not quite able to do so. But, you know, INTZ, last year's big fan favorites, and I'm really curious to see how they're going to bring the fire this year.
That's what you mentioned earlier in the broadcast. That's the one thing I haven't been able to shake going into this next set is these are the guys that were competing for said trophy last year. This is INTZ, Marcel, Edinho, and Firecrow up against Marrento Esports, man. If I'm Marrento Esports, I'm coming into this match, Ark. I'm understanding the gravitas that this team across the way from me brings. And I think I'm just happy to be here at this point. I'm happy to have made it this far. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to kind of, you know, take my lumps in this one. It's going to be a tough matchup for them. This is the 2 seed versus the 7 seed in today's finals. But I mean, what are your thoughts if you're Marrento Esports going into this?
I mean, a lot of pressure for sure. I mean, the INTZ roster has changed a little bit.
Or is it a lot of pressure? Because I think everybody has an idea of where this one might be headed.
But that's the thing. We've seen so many upsets already, right? There's been in many regions some huge upsets. We saw Animal Champuru leave the competition, and that was another team which made it to the grand finals last year. But fans are in pretty similar to what we've seen in previous rounds. Byron, Colonel Ruffs, Mr. P, and Amber. So probably going to be some sprout around and various other things. But what do you make of the bans? Pretty much what you expected?
I would say pretty much standard from and at this point, this is the last monthly finals. We have been around the globe at this point, and so we have a pretty good idea of how all these different metas are shaking out and things like that. And it's the Ruffs, it's the Byron, it's the Amber, I would say, that are very standard. Mr. P, I'm not ready to call quite standard yet, but these teams, obviously, they know what maps and modes they're going to be playing going into this. So seeing Mr. P banned out based on the maps is something that may not be entirely surprising to see.
I mean, for me, Mr. P's in a great place and definitely a very, very solid brawler to have. But, you know, one thing we haven't spoken about today, which you've got to bear in mind, is this is probably the last time we're going to see these kinds of brawlers, or in this format at least, because, you know, there's going to be some balance changes coming soon, and that's going to really mix up the meta massively. So, for the moment, I think this is pretty much what I expect to see. Rico is a bit of an interesting brawler choice that we don't see too often. Sometimes we see Clash play it in the EMEA region. I personally have always vouched for Rico on Hard Rock Mine. It can do so much work on the lane side of things.
It's all about that map knowledge. I mean, you guys mentioned it here as we see INTZ already taking a 5-gem lead. We are going to get the Colette almost the double super off, dropping a couple of those gems there. Marcel is hesitant to grab these two on the ground here. Are these safe enough? They just want to leave now. Toothless is going to go ahead and scoop these and get them back to safety.
Yeah, just kind of splitting the gems could be potentially risky. And I shut down the left-hand side from Firecrow. Great to see Firecrow as well into the mix as one of the players who I believe was of sort of younger age last year and now coming into the mix this year. Marcel as well was in the original roster. There's been a few changes bringing Toofer into the mix, and great to see the chemistry already looking to be very much with INTZ here.
Ark, look at just the chaos that Rico brings when he rips that super. I mean, you can't hope to keep track of all of that damage flying around the map as Marcel grabs the 10th gem for INTZ. Ark, this is 10-0 as we head into the final 10 seconds of game 1.
I know Marcel, right, managed to kind of just managed to get the angle perfect to get both damage on the out and the in of both that the transaction there, and continuing to rain down fire. INTZ strong on the outset for me already.
Great. And this one question that I wanted to ask you, and this is a perfect segue, right? I want to talk about this 8-bit, and I want to talk about the lack of throwers we saw in that first matchup. Do you think that they can afford to do that again and just have this 8-bit super up, stimming the entirety of INTZ the entirety of the match? Is that something they could afford?
8-bit for me is a really, really solid brawler at the moment, and with some good gadgets to disposal, with cheap cartridge, you can kind of evade a lot of the oncoming fire. And look at the stats there as well. Marcel definitely rocking the Rico pick. I think we'll see him probably continuing that on. But yeah, I mean, the amount of additional firepower that you can give to your teammates using 8-bit is a lot. But in general, at the moment, the throwers kind of meta is very much swayed in favor of brawlers like Tick, who are going to be receiving a bit of a change up soon as well. So we may not see as much of him in the next meta to come following the update. But I would say that Tick is the go-to thrower, or Sprout. Sprouts have obviously pretty played more. I think Tick probably more for controlling gamers like Bounty and sometimes in Heist or Siege. But I think for me, 8-bit it's just a solid.
We know.
choice.
I mean, he's a big boy. He's slow. He does a ton of damage. But for me, it's like when he can throw down the super and have it uncontested the entirety of the maps, the super kind of shores up the weaknesses of 8-bit for me. Makes him a little bit faster, even more lethal, as if that was even possible. We've got Max this time. Doesn't look like any thrower is being swipped up here, but a lot of movement speed to go around as Marrento are gas pedaling down INTZ and actually finding the first eliminations.
I gotta say, I really think this is interesting as we're just talking about 8-bit. One of his biggest weaknesses, of course, is his movement speed, of which, on the other side, Marrento going with the max pick, I think it's really, really smart here. Really, really smart. Just capitalizing with speed, and already Marcel forced back away and spawns to deal with the tankiness of the Rosa. Already a different story taking place as a result of that max pick.
And just chaos here. So much movement speed to go around. We are seeing the 8-bit super get down here. Needs to defend it and will. Grabs the elimination onto Sandy, forcing a couple back. Marrento, 5 gems in hand, all 5 on max. So that's very good. A very fast brawler, counter to 8-bit. She's going to be able to skirt around the map, in and out, be very effective, grab these gems, get back to safety, use the gadget to dash away from trouble. I really like the position Marrento are in.
Yeah, but now Tuva has got the plugged-in star power as to be expected really in terms of the meta, so the additional speed on his side now as he's able to control the mid, and gems starting to trickle back into INT's favor, gathering up control here. The max dash going in, trying to get the Rosa into the mix, and Firecrow under pressure here, pops the gadget, just stay alive. Somehow the Helva Tuva stays in the mix there.
It's just so all in, and it has to be Arc. I don't think there's any other way. There's not enough move speed in the world to get you past this plugged-in INTZ long-range composition. I mean, Marrento are just getting whittled down by the time they can make it in midfield. Dan with some good positioning here, has 8 gems. There's one more on the floor. One more with that elimination onto INTZ. They're just about shy of starting the counting.
I mean, 9 gems, though, is a solid turnaround. This game is much closer, having brought Max into the mix, and now the Sandy trying to get some damage on the left-hand side. Throws a super right into the middle of the map, but to be honest, not going to really give them much value, especially not with Marcel shutting you down like that. No chance to even use that, the curse of invisibility there to really kind of get...
you mentioned, Arc, it's 9 gems. It's not over yet. The countdown stops as both teams are tied, and Teddie dropping all 10 there, and then trapped by the Sprout wall. Look at this! The cheat code pulling him back out. 19 gems in hand. Arc, I think that might just do it.
Honestly, what great synergy with Firecrow shutting down the escape there on the left-hand side of that wall, and then forcing the Sandy to the right, dropping all those gems. A really smart play, and then as we see so often, 8-bit able to capitalize in those scenarios by just kind of going in, getting whatever they can in terms of gems, and just getting straight out of there.
I love it. I absolutely love it, Arc. That is World Championship caliber team play right there. Cool head the entire time. The match wasn't over. Tied 10-10. The Sprout wall to lock it up.
And even to have 8-bit, I love watching this character waddle around. I mean, the way this brawler moves is just so funny to me. There's lots of great moments to break down there. A great showing, though. Let's not shy away from giving Marrento credit where credit is due. They showed up here in this second game of Gem Grab.
100%. I like that sort of sign early on from a team which changed something up. They sort of are able to focus on what didn't work and then trying to choose a brawler which will help things to go back in their favor. And Max made such a difference. It was this moment here, though, with Falcone shutting that left, forcing the gems to the right. It was honestly a textbook play there. And look at that, the gems that Tufa was able to grab, and definitely hogging the leaderboards there in terms of the digits. 20 gems to 10 there.
20 gems on a big bad boy like 8-bit. What a brawler. Again, he's just hilarious to kind of walk around. But, it's that iron march. Once they get pushed up, they get the cartridge down from 8-bit. It's tough to uproot them. You saw there was a lot of movement speed coming from Max. They had a lot of opportunities to get up in the grill, but it's like by the time you get to midfield, you're so whittled down. It's a tough spot to be. That's going to do it for set number 1 here. Gem Grab does go the way of INTZ. This is still a quarterfinal. This is still a best of 3. So as you can see, we will be moving on to Siege. Definitely enjoy this mode. Hope we get to Heist. Heist is absolutely my favorite mode. But Siege on semi-assembly required based on the bans that we've seen are... What are your kind of thoughts on what we might be seeing in terms of compositions?
Yeah, I think this could be quite a close affair here. I mean, there's definitely options. BB for me is a really, really solid choice of brawler straight off the bat, no pun intended. Batting stance and star power, very much a tanky affair. But we have seen a bit of home run coming back into the mix, just a little bit. I think brawlers like Tick are definitely an option as well, just for kind of control purposes. We used to see last year a lot of Barley. Throwers are always a good go-to, but less so this year. But Barley with, some healing tonic can go a long way. But more than often, it's normally Tick takes the kind of more controlling throw stance there. Yeah, and we're Barley and Tick.
You nailed it. There it is. 2 throwers with the BB. Firecrow already pretty low, but he does bank that first bolt, swinging wildly here. Tufa's able to grab the second bolt. Third bolt will finally go the way of Marrento here as this tanks are now respawning and looking to get back involved.
Interesting, Marcel is running the sticky syrup mixer gadget, which I think is actually better in this instance because BB has that tendency to be so aggressive, so in your face and just trying to close the gap, whereas having that gadget allows INTZ to kind of collect and group together to be able to take her out. Sparko goes in as well with some nice swipes, does get the upper hand as well. We'll have supers coming in. Oh my word! INTZ are just laying it down in the early stages. That is a monstrous push. That
is an illegal amount of damage. 29 with a 3-bolt bot. That's in the first phase. That is a monumental amount of damage done here, and the pressure just will not let up from INTZ. They are banking bolts left, right, and center. A little bit of a lead here built in from Marrento, not getting the bot obviously in the first phase. It is a 6-3, now 4 bolt, and the next siege looks like it will go the way of Marrento.
Yeah, and this is the chance here for them to be able to make something of it, but oh, look at that. Again, sticky syrup mixer coming so clutch, and so many shots. Marcel was able to even get some more additional damage on the save as a result of those shots alone, as now we see a bit of a turnaround. Marrento trying to put some pressure on, but keep an eye on the damage. I don't know whether it's going to be that much, to be completely honest, as INTZ managed to even get damage on the other side of the match and still come back to defend.
I mean, it comes down to the double thrower composition for me. INTZ, they didn't even get a lot of time on the turret. They just were able to dump so much damage out and really get the job done that way. Now with this innate lead, not getting the last bot, you're seeing Marcel moving in just to dump this Barley super. This is what I'm talking about. This thrower, they don't even really need the bot. They don't even really need a lot of time on the save, and they're able to do monumental amounts of damage.
I really like to see that as an example as to why Barley is still kind of viable to me. Definitely not the go-to in terms of thrower, and interesting that INTZ were actually combining 2 throwers in that instance, but look at that push. Honestly, what a combination. And I mean, I don't want to call it at that point because it was far from over, but it surely must have shaken Marrento in their boots.
That is a good start. Well, if we know anything about Marrento, we know they have the ability to bounce back based on what we've seen on Gem Grab. Firecrow, BB versus BB, head-to-head stats here, 3 kills to nothing. Same amount of bolts collected, same amount of deaths. Some of that, I think, might just boil down to the positive pressure, right? They were the ones winning the game. Those kills are going to go their way more often than not. That was a very different compositions. I think INTZ makes a very convincing case
for the composition that they ran. Do we see any comp switch-ups for Marrento going into the next game?
Yeah, well, this is the question now, because it obviously was not working, and they've got to make some changes for sure. I mean, Jackie's not a bad shout here, to be honest. We haven't really seen any of her yet so far today, but being able to kind of get behind various covers and use that to your advantage, and she does struggle a little bit with BB, so I'm not sure about actually kind of going against the BB in that respect. We're going to see something similar to Frank to break a lot of that stuff down. Yeah, open up the map and see whether we can lay down some heavy fire early on, and Marcel already a victim to it, so working out well for Marrento here.
Just so big, 10,000 HP coming at you. I love me some Frank. Awesome we get the opportunity to see this brawler that you really don't see too often. Level 3 siege bot here spawning. First things first for Marrento. No Frank supers yet. Really, once the map starts to open up and evolve, that's where I get scared for these throwers.
Yeah, and Tick, remember, is pretty much a risky one for defense here. Two actually popping the last hurrah gadget there to get some additional damage before going down himself. Pretty decent defense, Firecrow getting involved as well as Marcel. So all in all for me, pretty comfortable looking defense, but the control now, the mid control is with Marrento, and yeah, the Frank smash just to clear out the mid might actually do a lot of help in terms of the Soundy being able to dominate. But having said that, about to go down there, and the bolts will be in INTZ's favor here.
Firecrow gets in there fearlessly, dealing amount of damage, getting through that Frank HP, no problem, stealing 2 bolts for herself, and look at this. INTZ is about to have them one big old robot here. 8 bolts coming down. The freight train here is on its way. I don't know if they'll be able to stop this one. Both throwers still alive. That's really what's important. Those are the guys that are going to be doing the damage to the stage.
Marcel just going over the top there, just laying down some fire there and getting a super for his troubles as well. That's going to cause even more of damage raining down on Marrento's Ike. There's not going to be any time here. Marcel just committing there as well as 2 for 3%. The last big mines are going to do the job done. Nicely done.
I love it, man. The fade away from Tick there, that is beautiful work there. I mean, we saw it in game number 1, right? As INTZ, they are able to take this set. They are going to take this match as well. That is the 2-0 for the ex-world champions there. That was incredible, man. They are able to get so much damage, not even with a lot of uptime on the turret. That time they did get a lot of uptime on the turret. Both throwers alive. You're going to see what type of punishment they were able to bring out as a result.
Yeah, a really, really solid start from me. INTZ looking to still be a good front runner here if they can just continue to keep up the pace and, keep making good brawler choices. We did see a little bit of resistance from Marrento, but not too much. So, like, are we going to see having, there be teams later on down the lines that might give them even more resistance? I know that we got CLASH Latam still to come, and that was the team last year, which did give them a fair run for their money. So looking for them to have a spotlight this year might be the thing that if CLASH Latam do well in the next round, going through to that next stage, we shall see. But already, INTZ, look at that. I mean, in Siege especially, I would say looking very, very strong for me.
That's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful work there by INTZ. Very fun team to watch, but credit where credit's due again for Marrento. They were the extremely underdog team in this matchup in particular, but I think they showed up well. I think I'm proud if I'm them. I show up today against an incredible team with a really, really strong reputation. And I show the ability to be flexible. I show the ability to kind of put pressure and not be scared and to still play my game. It is going to still be INTZ taking things. We're looking at some stats here between Firecrow and Dan, of course. Going to be a little bit more towards that INTZ side. More average kills. Bolts collected about equal. But really, it came down to just those throwers. I think INTZ, even in gem grab, they seemed much more comfortable running the throwers. They seemed much more comfortable running the throwers in Siege, and I have to say, it looked like it paid off for them.
Yeah, interesting to see as well. Like, not that much difference between those two players in terms of bolts, but a big, big difference in terms of how we saw the game play out and the scoreboard reflecting of it. So, throwers for me are in a very, very strong place. Sprout is more the kind of generic brawler that we'll see in various game modes, whereas brawlers like tend to sort of show up in later stages other than gem grab. But going into this next game, CLASH Latam, underrated FA. I've got to say that I would say underrated are potentially the underdogs here, which I love. Sure. I actually really love to root for the underdogs. But CLASH Latam, like I mentioned earlier, had a pretty good run last year, got some good momentum, but just came short in terms of the points to get to Worlds.
That's right. You know, if you're looking straight up at seeding, you're gonna have to say Underrated is both underrated in their names and in their seeding today. It's not gonna be an easy road for them. But again, it's not all or nothing in these monthly qualifiers. You can still get, you're getting a good amount of points just for making it to this top 8, as we see our teams lining up here ready to take each other on in game number 1. Obviously the lion's share of points go to the winner, but you know, there's no buts about it. You should be proud making it to this point and knowing that you've achieved something, right? This is going to be a long, arduous process to get to that world championship trophy at the end of the road. So, you know, even if I'm getting knocked out here in top 8, take solace in the fact that you still made it to top 8. You still grab some points. You guys were bringing up, you know, from earlier, when you get to a point, you lock yourself better practice, maybe some better scrim partners. You start to pull a little bit more weight in that scene, and it's just good for you and good for your morale to be able to make it even this far.
Exactly that. Bans are in, however, and we're going to see Colt banned again. So is this something that I'm not seeing in the Latam South region as to why? Because it's an interesting choice. I'm not saying that Colt's in a bad place, but just I would say that it's, you know, not necessarily the go-to, and it's the second time in this stage of the competition that we've seen it banned. So, but I mean, for me, Colonel Ruffs, Byron, and Amber make a lot of sense. In Colt's place, I would expect to see maybe a Sprout or Mr. P, or you know, something else, something other than Colt.
Those are plug and play. I mean, the Amber, the Byron, the Ruffs, we've seen those time and time again, region to region to region. And then there's always that question mark, that fourth, what is it, a Mr. P? Is it going to be the Colt here? We've seen it a little bit more. And that's part of the fun, I think, as you move from region to region to region, you get to see a little bit of a different flavor in that fourth slot. I think everyone can agree that there's a pretty plug and play ban here in the Byron, the Amber, and the Ruffs. But I enjoy seeing, as we move from meta to meta, who we see in that fourth slot.
Well, difference in the Brawler comp is pretty obvious there. We've got double Jesse, but aside from that, Mr. P and Penny on the side of underrated FA, but on the side of Clash Latam, 8-Bit again and Colette. And I do feel like 8-Bit and Colette have got a good place here. Let's see what happens once Luca gets down his turret and places more pressure already. Peck on the back end of a lot of aggression there and does go down as a result. Well, we've kind of leveled up a little bit. We've got underrated FA with the Porter spawn, and down goes the damage booster for the Simval as well there. A good amount of pressure, but down as well goes the Penny turret. That's going to put a lot of pressure on the receiving end of Clash Latam as well. So as that starts to rain down fire onto the map, that will actually force Clash into potentially places that they don't want to be. Yeah, Colt, as you rightly say, did have an opportunity there. Could have been, that could be maybe where they're starting to think through the options of having Colt and banning him out the mix. But yeah, that's that could be the reason why, maybe.
So we get into the last 36 seconds here. Frankly, it's almost reminiscent of the bounty map we were seeing earlier. A little bit of a low-scoring game. Nobody really making any giant moves yet. It's going to have to come down to that slow, almost blitzkrieg approach where we drop our spawners and we are just taking a very calculated approach, getting the eliminations that we need to move up. Here, it might be that moment as we move into the last 15 seconds. I think patience is what I would preach here, Ark. They have an opportunity to get set up, get a couple more kills, head into overtime, and maybe dunk this one in.
A great position here for going into overtime if underrated FA can hold this spot, and Clash Latam forcing the ball to the right, trying to pass it over. The 8-Bit now just looking to get down this Porter spawner, but the 2 versus 1 is there, and at the moment, it does seem like it could be going the way of underrated FA. They can just hang on. This is a terrible position for Clash Latam to find themselves in.
There's nowhere to run here. Literally trapped inside of their goal, and the splash damage from Jesse just starts to overwhelm you. When you can't move outside of your own goal, you just don't even have an opportunity to make a move. I mean, you're taking the guaranteed double hits at that point. So much value in the Jesse pick, forcing everyone into goal.
It was a great position for underrated to force themselves upon the Clash Latam spawn there, and just picking players off one by one, and that's really where you see their Guzera and Pekka, sorry, just in the back of the spawn, unable to go anywhere. That's where Penny's turret can get just so much value, and it was kind of only a matter of time before the goal was scored.
Slow start to that game. It came down to really just a couple of eliminations before the Brawlers on INTZ were able to actually move up, advance, start taking some map control here. The real big difference, I think, in these compositions was actually the Colette. So I like that we are comparing this. She has really the only mobility across the other 5 Brawlers in this matchup. And I think getting really good value for that, Guzera is going to have a lot of weight on his shoulders. He's the only one that can kind of make that snap play and penetrate to the back line and try and get something going for his team. It's definitely a riskier play to kind of say, all right, we're going to take a little bit less range. Everybody else is going to outrange us. They're going to be able to outpoke us a little bit. But Colette, I love this character. I think she's a lot of fun to watch, especially on Brawl Ball. The amount of plays you can make with the time to collect super is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and Mr. P definitely more like a control-based person, like being able to stay a bit more in the background and sort of capitalize on those moments where you can just sit back and let the porters do a lot of the work, and then just choose your times to go on the aggressive. But we are just Jackie for the first time today. Mortis actually for Pekka as well. So big comp changes here from Clash Latam early on, and it seems to already be making a pretty decent difference here, as we're going to see potentially a rush for the goal.
Yeah.
Going to drop it early and just come back on themselves.
I think that's smart.
I think it's pretty wise.
I think that's pretty smart. Yeah, now it was almost there, not quite there. Obviously, really wise to back up there for Sinval. Get reset. They've got both the Mortis super and the Poco super, popping the gadget as well, trying to stay alive, but so much damage as this 8-bit is plugged in. Mortis trying to dive into the back line here, try and flush out some of these squishier targets, but just doesn't have the ammo to do so.
Still, though, Jackie's a really good brawler to be able to hold firm in those positions, and with nothing really to break the cover on the side of underrated FA, they might be in a bit of a spot here. No brawler on the map can break the covers, so definitely going to lend itself nicely to both Mortis and Jackie. And it's underrated FA which are continuing though to hold the control, and we're seeing the same story starting to recur despite these changes. It's Clash Latam very much back on the back foot here.
Yeah, really good stuff here from underrated FA so far. I gotta give them a lot of credit here. They're playing this one patiently. Look at this double time to collect here, getting a lot of damage out as Epic charges yet another super here. Could go in on this Jackie. Look at the Mortis, the disruption he's causing. Nice juke there. Jackie unable to do anything with her super. Midfield control back in favor of Clash Latam, but look at this underrated FA already set up, ready for the defense.
Yep, no goals scored, so there's still plenty of time to just kind of tick things over, but the ball is still in that back right-hand corner, and that's the thing that's going to be very much on Clash Latam's conscious here, as underrated FA continues to just keep putting down this pressure. Jackie's unable to really do much in this position and needs to get into the more aggressive position. The Poker needs to heal her to get to that stage, and it's a really dire position for Clash Latam right now.
Mortis is a very all-in brawler. We know that, and he's been going all in, doing his best. Nice trade there from Sinval, able to take down Colette, but goes down to Mr. P himself. 20 seconds, plugged in, spawning away. I mean, there is a lot of stuff to get through here. Sinval trying to move up, make his move. 10 seconds here, going to be cleaving a couple of these spawners down through the walls. 8-7-6 goes the clock here. This one is looking like it's going to come down to overtime, and I am worried for Clash Latam in overtime when they have no cover.
They're going to get the jukes on massively. They have got supers to their disposal here. Peck can get into a spot here using the Coral Snake. Star Power does get a takedown. Starts to suck on the super as well. Potential pass from Guzera. If he can make it to the balls, doesn't quite make it. But the takedown is there from the shots. And as quickly as that, the goal is scored from the bleakest of circumstances.
Oh my goodness, I can't. I mean, it comes down to the Mortis there. Absolutely all in. Gets a ton of life steal with the bats. Just manages to barely stay on his feet and makes the play. Waits for the Colette to come back too to line her up. Double bats, heals up, getting a ton of damage. Great positioning here. What an incredible photo finish. I was so worried about them going into overtime. They lacked range. They lacked a lot of the things that they were going to need to try and poke out and win with a little bit of range there. Mr. P grabs himself 6 kills. Neither the Poco or the Mr. P scoring any goals there. But relatively even right up until the end there. Brawl Ball can be that way though, Ark. One small mistake, one good pass can change the face of the game.
100%. And, you know, underrated FA for me just had so much control. Like they were in such a great spot for the majority of the game. And they just, you know, against all odds, you know, I think for me, what made it so special on the Clash Latam side of things was pretty much the fact that, you know, having the Mortis at their disposal was a great asset, but had to be utilized at the time of overtime taking effect. As soon as the boxes went down, with so much you know, firepower on the other side of things in terms of range, they had to capitalize on that that saved up Coiled Snake star power. Because as soon as you use that, you haven't really got much more chance to come back into the mix, and it made such a big difference there for me.
Absolutely, yeah. Brawl Ball, one of the best game modes to watch. I think you not only have to be good at playing Brawl Stars, but you need a good football sense around you. How you move the ball, how you clear the ball, how you position, how you pinch, how you apply all of the good Brawl Stars fundamentals to a not so Brawl Stars game. I mean, this is a type of game that we're all very familiar with across the world. We've seen a good amount of trick shots today. I love the evolution of this game mode. Way back in the day when we first started casting Brawl Stars, and back in, what was that, 2018? I mean, the pros weren't such a big fan of Brawl Ball, but I think everybody in the crowd and the casters alike really, really enjoyed just watching this mode.
Yeah, it's like by far one of the most played modes in competitive, very fast turnaround. As we saw there, just a very quick early goal off the mark from Clash Latam. Much different to what we've seen so far from them, as the only goal so far was in overtime. And now looking maybe to get some momentum, starting to, you know, pick up the pace as down goes the 8-bit damage booster as well, plugged in star power again. No surprises there, just to get Gazera just kind of into the mix, and actually on both sides as well for underrated FA. But yeah, this could be a turning point. Clash Latam potentially, if they keep this up and start to get some kills confirmed, may take the lead here.
Very, very different compositions, kind of in each Brawl Ball that we've seen so far. So much damage out on the field right now. Taking the opportunity to kind of move up, get aggressive is P.E.K.K.A here. Cheat code right off the respawn there. Eptic gets in there, but takes a lot of punishment for it. The penny turret goes down. Mr. P will have to be the one to kind of deal with this one over the wall there. Gets a good amount of damage on the 8-bit as well. Playing this composition very, very effectively, but it's going to have to take a couple of eliminations close to each other for either of these low mobility compositions to make any big moves up and down the field.
I like these plays from Gazera, just kind of like, you know, got a ton of value from his damage output there before his teammates went down to hold control of the mid. There was nothing really that underrated FA could do to push in that instance, and great pinching as well from Zimval, who goes down there, however. Let's see what can happen going towards overtime if Clash Latam can start to regain control of the mid. P.E.K.K.A already showing some signs of not feeling great about the situation with some nice consecutive shots on Luca. Goes down. This could be good for Clash Latam here.
And it's not going to be enough there. The one goal will do it. Plenty of control. Really, really great job there. Just making sure that they keep their foot on the gas and don't slip up. Without those low mobility compositions here, obviously it's very map dependent. I have to say I'm a little bit more in favor of seeing the Mortis, you know, those plays, lots of mobility kind of moving around the map, and enjoying watching that here. Watching some replays, catching some of the action back here. You can see getting the spawn trap in the goal. Watch the value from Jesse here. I mean, these bounces, so much cleave damage, and it's all just absolutely guaranteed as the noose tightens there.
Yeah, that's the thing that I picked up on massively as well, is that Clash Latam seem to be the more daring of the teams in terms of their choices and their kind of aggressive moments of play and just timing those things correctly. But you know, it's really difficult when you're down in the matches to be able to come back and turn things around. And you know, being on set point is a difficult scenario to find yourself, but they were able to turn it around so successfully to come on the other side squeaky clean out of Brawl Ball.
Absolutely there. Taking a look at some stats here. Mr. P versus Mr. P. 1 goal scored, less deaths to his name. That's a very positive correlation towards the victory there. This is a brawler that we've seen not banned out a ton, but when he is not banned, he is fairly universally picked. I mean, like you were mentioning, Mr. P, a brawler in a very solid spot right now, and a lot of people are playing him. Talk to me a little bit about this guy using his super, and how do you play off the pressure that would provide?
I think just anything which spawns on the map on a kind of like timed basis is going to help, because the thing about Brawl is that, and one of the most underrated things that I think people forget, is that every time you're firing and shooting is resetting the time it takes for you to start healing effectively.
That's
so,
right.
You know, Mr. P's porters are able to stop the healing process, so you can really start to time when you want to go on the aggressive, and when you need to heal yourself, you can just let your porters do the work. That's why we're seeing Mr. P in a pretty solid spot, and I'd be curious to see what happens with the balance changes as to how that kind of changes things in terms of the meta.
Set 1 is in the books. Clash Latam take first blood as we move into Hot Zone now. Moving forward very aggressively is Edgar, but he's unable to actually grab the elimination there. And he's going to die for nothing here with Sinval ready to rock and roll on the max. You're trying to get these kills. Use the gadget, dashes in very aggressively. That is a 2-for-0. Good on you, Sinval, able to get in there and kind of make up for last time that Edgar was not able to capitalize on.
Good start. Both teams are very much even, almost dash away as well, and Underrated definitely did really, really well. They've got to get Sinval taken down, but this is the question here on Hot Zone in this particular map in particular. Is, do you decide to go on the aggressive and work your way up the map, knowing that, on the second zone to capture, it's closer towards your spawn, or, the strategies that both teams have to consider here definitely coming into play, because, Luca's doing a great job there of holding on. She end up defending successfully, giving us a little spin as well. Looks like they are in a good spot here in terms of the cap percentage.
Underrated. Coming in as the underdogs here, but they are really making a name for themselves here in this first game of Hot Zone 96-97. As the clock winds down, it looks like Underrated able to take this first game. Great stuff there. I have to say, I'm a big fan of Edgar. I love watching the character. I love the mobility. I love when things happen. I prefer that type of playstyle over watching, long-range brawlers just poke out at each other. But for me, it was really the Edgar there, not able to get a lot of value there. And, look at that. Just almost instantly punished every single time he jumps in.
I think a lot of credit got to be given to Underrated FA to be able to shut it down as quickly as they did there, really, because it definitely was an affair which Edgar didn't really get a look into as a result of that. More kills on Matthias' side of things with 5-2. More DPS as well on Matthias' side of things. Less deaths, good stats in favor of Underrated FA for me.
That'll equal out to a win. And I just want to clarify, INTZ Matthias playing not for INTZ. That was one thing that was kind of confusing me at the second, though. It's just a bit of an overlap there in the naming convention. Does not play for that INTZ team. So first game of Hot Zone going to our underdogs, maybe having a chance. Again, this is still a quarterfinal matchup with Brawl Ball going the way of Clash. They need to take Hot Zone. They're off to a hot start, if you will. And we might actually see one of our first third sets forced here in the quarterfinals today.
Yeah, and if Underrated FA can just continue on, we may see Matthias potentially going up against his old teammates in the bracket later on. We'll have to wait and see.
Love that.
That's going to be a real grudge match potential on the cards. But it does make things very interesting. Whoever goes on to face INTZ is going to have definitely a challenging team, as both of these two teams last year have had a lot of history with INTZ.
Pretty significantly different compositions this time around. Matthias playing the Edgar, gets in there, almost grabs the first elimination there, but Mr. P able to swing things back. Max just able to scoot out with the gadget dash, but eventually will go down again to the briefcases of Mr. P.
Good positioning here from Pekka as well, and just lining up the super there, going down straight down the mid as the Max tries to dash away from it, but great value cycling really nicely as well and coming back at the right times. Controlled aggression is what you need in Hot Zone. Now down goes the batting stance shield, and the takedown is there, but great start from Clash Latam as a result of those BB plays.
Wow, great start for Pekka. I mean, already so much more impactful here on the BB than he was last game on the Edgar. Hot Zone's being captured here, 69% to 60 and climbing. Pekka wanting to get back in there again. Not a lot of value from that push. And it looks like with all that movement speed to spare, Guzera actually able to turn things back around on Max, poking out the enemy Jesse here. We got the nice split screen view as Guzera just narrowly comes out on top of the 2v1, getting a lot of extra poke damage down with the slow combination from the turret. My goodness, Guzera is absolutely dancing with the members of Underrated and getting so much value.
Max dash going in. Let's see what happens here, as the defense needs to be really, really on point for Underrated. A here. Down goes Mr. P. Good start. Pekka still, though, running right. And the bubble's done to perfection. And that might just be enough to give Clash Latam the lead. It's going to be so close. 1% of the lead. Oh, 1% is all that was in it.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. Absolutely down to the wire there. Edgar, you could see nothing to do but stand around and just kind of know that one was just slipping away from him. Very, very impressive turnaround there from Clash. I have to shout out Pekka. I mean, I thought he was just impeccable on this BB. Really, really great play, especially after a not so great game number one.
what a time to get that BB Super just on point there, because that takedown was so important. Only 1% was separating them, and that would have definitely been a different story had there been more of a resistance there. Wow, my goodness me.
That's just clean right there. I love having the split screen view there. It's very, very helpful to follow the action both here in Hot Zone as well as Heist. I love that. I think it's really, really important here. You can see Sinval up against Matthias there on his Edgar. Only 1 kill, pretty decent amount of DPS, 3 deaths here, but using his mobility, being that presence, not being afraid to dive in, open up some of these fights, not being afraid to be the one to kind of stand on the hot zone. And like we said, you could see how it was just trading out there 99, 98, 99, and it was just a very close match overall. Again, more composition switch ups. Now we're seeing the double Edgar.
Double Edgar could mix things up, interestingly. Let's see. I mean, I've got to say, it's been a pretty close affair for me. Matthias is going to be very, very careful of this BB, and yeah, nice awareness of range there as well. Clash Latam did well there and pop in the gadget to get back to full health quickly. Possibly not necessary there for me a little bit, because there wasn't really much contesting to be had. Continued aggression goes a long way, and down goes the Edgar again. That is a great start for Clash Latam for me, but behind at the moment in terms of the cap percentage.
Just going to get as much as he can here. Pekka is in trouble, gets the super. I like that play. Hold it. You're not going to get out of this one 2v1. You're already kind of in a bad spot. Save that super for the next push. Enemies capturing the hop zone here. Underrated grabbing their top zone. Now needing to go on the full offensive here, playing defense only when absolutely necessary. Clash Latam just a bit behind them as 1% separates these two teams, but we have seen, just like in last game, 1% can make all the difference.
Yeah, look how close it is again. That's quite crazy to see, but nice kill there from Gazelle. Will keep Pekka in the mix here as in jumps Matthias, taken down so quickly. Danger here for underrated FA, who are on match point to Clash Latam. If they continue to cap this could be all over here. Matthias going in, getting a ton of value. My goodness me, Matthias, the savior right now for underrated FA there.
So much lifesteal. Edgar, what a fun brawler to watch here. Pekka's still alive, taking a little bit of poke in the bushes there. He's going to be in trouble, but Poco BB moving in to try and close this game out. 90% contested, now climbing here. Clash Latam just barely leading, but look at these elims. Max is still capturing this hot zone. This game is not over yet.
Yeah, but the Max can't come back to help. It's just literally down to Matthias and Luca here, and I don't know whether it's going to be enough to be able to stop the onslaught of Clash Latam. 2%, but they are still defending. This is absolutely insane.
Run it down here. Max just trying to bounce between both zones, trying to capture progress for his team while contributing to the defense there. Sinval makes quick work of the maps. Look at this. Moving in now. The Poco heal isn't going to be good enough, and it absolutely will be. That was the combination right there. You saw the Edgar jumping in pretty much as the Poco super is coming through, just to make sure that he stays nice and healthy. He's all about the lifesteal. He's all about getting that last hit. And the Poco super was just enough to push Pekka's Edgar over the edge and have it be much more effective in game 3 than it was in game 1.
I mean, despite the outcome, you got to hand to underrated FA there. I mean, that was some insane defense, and you know, they did not take it lying down. They didn't just kind of like, you know, let it happen. They really still put up a good fight there, and honestly, genuinely, that could have gone either way for me.
That was an incredible matchup there. We were really ready to hand it to Clash right before the match even started, and I guess shame on me, right? Underrated showed up. They're the 6th seed here in today's top 8 versus the 3rd seed of Clash, but they certainly put up a fight in Brawl Ball. They put up a good fight across the board here. Really proud of the effort that we saw. That's probably the highlight of my match today, was this Mortis play in overtime, just getting tons of value, tons of damage, patience, even when his back was against the wall. Hot Zone, a lot of fun. Frankly, as a newer Brawl Stars caster, this mode wasn't in the game back when I was doing it in my day, but I've really enjoyed getting to know this mode, watching this one a little bit. Especially this map was a lot of fun when those zones are kind of close enough to both be so closely in contention here. This was the moment though, 97, 98, 99, 99, and barely eking that one out to 100%.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the closest moments of today for sure. There's very rare do you ever see Hot Zone go to a 1% difference in that respect. It's often a bit of a wipeout scenario. Often, you know, teams might struggle to regain control, but to have only 1% in it, that is a story to tell.
Look at Edgar go. I mean, look at that. What a fun brawler. What a fun brawler. Good on P.E.K.K.A to be able to kind of, you know, do his thing with that brawler after a tough game one. Coming back and showing up and showing out 209 DPS through that lap. Great on the average kills. Really, the standout stat there being the average deaths. I mean, pretty low overall. Very, very efficient when choosing to take those engagements, making sure you don't go down too often, making sure that you can get value out of every single one of your pushes. Love seeing the comp switch ups. I feel like, frankly, earlier today, we're seeing kind of, you know, people bashing their heads against each other and doing the same thing and adjusting a little bit here and there. There were some sweeping comp changes game to game in that last match, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, great abilities to adapt. We're not going to see Matthias take on his former teammates today, but we are going to see Clash Latam up against INTZ. That is going to be a big one. Some rivalries coming back from last year, rising back against the service. I can't wait to see what happens next.
Well, guys, we are going to take a quick little break here as we get Teddie back in. But while we do, I'm going to throw you guys to a little bit of a grind guide from one of the absolute most handsome, smartest, tactical geniuses in the Brawl Stars scene that I have ever met.
Welcome to Grind Guide, a new series for the 2021 competitive season where we give you an inside look at how your favorite pros perfect their skills. With the Brawl Stars Championship back in full swing, Grind Guide is your chance to learn from the best of the best to sharpen your skills. Today we're going to be taking a look back at one of the best players from the World Finals last year to see what wisdom we can soak up from their strategy and what thought processes lie behind their decisions. By analyzing their gameplay, we can find some surprisingly simple tips that you can use to take your game to the next level. Our first pro needs a little introduction. There are only a handful of players who can proudly say they've attended a Brawl Stars World Finals, let alone consecutively, but TwistyTwik is one of those players. The French pro left SK Gaming in May of last year to join his current organization Code Magic and is easily one of the most consistent players in Europe. This year we saw history repeat itself as his former teammate Ashil also left SK Gaming to join the Code Magic roster, and many are excited to see these three French players competing together on the same side for the first time in competitive play. Tip number 1. Surviving the spawn trap. Spawn trap is the ultimate strong arm strategy in Brawl Stars. When all feels lost, it's ever more important to stay composed under the pressure and remember this simple tip to help bring your game back under control. Notice first how gracefully TwistyTwik dodges and weaves his way into position to ensure full health by the time he's ready to make his move. With a well-timed Colette super combined with the push-it star power, he creates himself an opening and doesn't hesitate to advance up the map despite being outnumbered. The aim here is to flank behind the action and in doing so, force back the opposition and help to relieve some of the pressure being placed upon his teammates. His presence cannot be ignored, and as a result, quickly, we see the action shift back towards the center of the map just in the nick of time to give Code Magic the best possible chance of contesting that final gem. Tip number 2, pinch perfect. Teamwork really does make the Brawl Stars dream work, which is why you're going to have to work together if you want to lock down any and all potential escape routes to leave the opposition nowhere to run, an act we refer to in the pro scene as pinching. Pro teams will communicate with each other when they want to pinch another player, initiated here by Sun Bentley using the Rattled Hive B gadget to force a retreat. Firstly, notice that Twisty, Casey, and Sun Bentley are all running long-ranged brawlers, which places Whitey in the firing line from two opposing lines of sight, here and here. Sun Bentley's job now is to block Ashil's escape through the mid and force him back into Twisty's line of attack to ensure the team wipe. Rattled Hive from Bentley getting great value, and Twisty going in there for the takedown of Ashil. The pass was trying to be made from Casey, a nice takedown from Twisty, and that is going to be it for Code Magic. 1 goal in the bag. What made this such a powerful play is that for the briefest of moments, Scarix had the opportunity to clear the ball in one direction to attempt to buy time for his team, but became so quickly overwhelmed by all three players that it led to the goal being scored regardless. Tip number 3, just keep juking. It goes without saying that you're little use to your teammates when you're dead. The longer you can remain on your feet by swerving to avoid incoming fire, the better you can serve your teammates as you work together to carry out the objective at hand. Players like TwistyTwik excel because they are able to carry out complex juking patterns while applying pressure and all the while maintaining an awareness of potential threats to his teammates. If you want to sharpen up your juking skills, you could set up a friendly game lobby for the map Purple Paradise, turn off all the bots and make it a 3 versus 1 to see how long you can last just by juking. TwistyTwik's playstyle serves as a great example for why multitasking is such a key quality to possess as a professional Brawl Stars player, and one that often goes unnoticed as it can appear so effortless to the untrained eye. Try to prioritize planning ahead over reacting in the moment, and focus on the importance of communicating effectively to make every moment count. Remember to view someone else's strength as a complement to your weakness, and work together as a team to get the job done. Thanks for watching. Until next time, this has been Grind Guide.
Welcome back, Brawl Stars fans, one and all. My name is PrettyHair, joined now by Teddie as we move forward in the bracket here in Latin America South. We are moving on to our first semifinal match of the day. My goodness, some action we have seen today. I hope you were watching that last match, Teddie. There was a lot of really good moments there for some underdogs there. But overall, so far, we have just sort of followed the seeding. We'll head over to the bracket and see exactly how today has played out so far. Early on in the day, you saw CYP FA take on Hibou Gaming. They will be moving on, of course, to meet Free Agents. Both of these teams 2-0ing in their quarterfinal matchups. Now they will head head-to-head against each other. And of course, later on today, you will see, I think the one that I'm more excited for, INTZ versus CLASH in the bottom semifinal. But there's certainly, you know, something to be said. There's a lot of heavyweights here in this Latin American South region with the INTZ boys, with the CLASH Latam guys. But CYP FA, nonetheless, they are the first seed in today's top 8. So we have to kind of talk about them a little bit. Can we be expecting another stomp here in the semifinals as they move on to the finals? Or are we expecting them to meet a little bit of resistance?
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be an interesting one, especially since both teams here did really well in those quarterfinals. They had some very dominant performances against their opponents. Now they are going to be matched up against each other. And this is going to be their time to shine, because if you're playing against a lesser team, I mean, you know, it's not as much pressure than if you are heading towards some of the favorites of the day, and they're going to have to perform big time in this one.
This was, I think, probably my favorite game of that Brawl. We've seen a lot of Brawl Ball today, but I think that, you know, Rosa on Rosa, Sneaky Fields Brawl Ball, that was probably my favorite game of the day so far to watch. There's so many close moments. The trick shot that actually mattered. I hear what you guys were saying about, you know, most of the time trick shotting and Brawl Ball, it's just kind of a flex. It's something you do when you're way ahead. But that one, you know, that set had one that really mattered, and that would not have been a goal without that trick shot. Really, really cool plays there from a team that, like you mentioned, they move about the map with a lot of confidence. They're not really toying with their opponents. Sometimes in those quarterfinal matchups, you can see, you know, some kind of fun compositions that may not be the most competitive, but if you're just dominant enough, you can win with a lot of different strategies and a lot of different variants. CYP Free Agents didn't give me that impression that they were wanting to toy with their food, so to speak. They seem like they came to play. They're going to play absolutely what is best and what is most likely to get them to the win. Yeah,
I mean, they are both quite inexperienced teams when you look at the big scene. Right. And I think they are very hungry for this win. I mean, anything they achieve today is pretty much an all-time record for those players. So they are going to be coming in this one extremely serious and extremely disciplined, because they really, really want this. And they are going to have to give it their all if they want to move on to the grand finals.
That's right. Moving on to the grand finals requires that they win the semifinals. And the semifinals are a bit different than the quarterfinals were. As you can see in the center of your screen right now, once we move to the semis and the finals, these matches become bests of 5s, meaning these teams need to win 3 sets before they can move on. And that's when the competition really starts to step up. You know, sometimes in those quarters, you can get a little unlucky, you know, if your team isn't so great at one mode or another and you don't get to play what you're strong at. Here, to win a semifinal, to win a final, you got to have a really wide breadth of skill to be able to win 3 different types of game modes.
Yeah, exactly. 5 game modes means that you pretty much have every game mode besides 1 out of the 6 that is going to be played in that matchup. So that's going to be really about, you know, having that extra versatility, and you have a bit more of a chance to come back if things go wrong, a bit more time to adapt to your opponents. And in the banning process, which we are going to be moving on to right now, yeah, exactly. Gonna have to be a bit more careful because you can't really get those snipe bans, which you have when you only have 3 maps, 3 game modes. Here you have 5, so you want something as versatile as possible. And in this case, I mean, pretty much a go-to once again. Ruffs, Amber, Byron, those are the usual. Sprout also up there in the most picked. You know, that's always that 4th and extra spot in the current meta. Which, you know, we've seen some Colt today, some Sprout, some Mr. P.
We have.
It goes a bit all over the place. And I mean, I think Sprout makes a lot of sense. He's been very dominant today.
I think you've got your standard 3. You nailed it on the head. And then you got kind of that last one that, you know, maybe it's a team-to-team thing. Maybe it's a region-to-region thing. Maybe it's a map-to-map thing. As we can see, Kaboom Canyon on Heist will be our first games as we head on in. And we do see the Colt, so a completely mirrored match are these 2 compositions as it stands. We've kind of been question marking around this Colt. What is the value? Why is this being banned out? Look at the Colt Super immediately ripping through. Almost 25% of the damage already dealt to the safe by just Pedro Arthur. I mean, he did so much work on his own there.
Yeah, Colt just deals so much damage. Kaudok getting up close against Ambrosador, but he's gonna get taken out. Actually, trade coming in from VT Zim. And so far, I mean, it's a good start from Free Agents. They managed to get that initial damage. It's all gonna be about getting that middle and asserting dominance in that middle bush area.
That's right. And VT Zim has done a good job of it so far, but he's falling lower and lower. Down he goes, and Ambrosador gets his turret down. But Mr. P and Colt easily going to be able to deal with that one. Kyodog, really big whiff on the Colt Super there. Doesn't get any damage onto the safe, nor the enemy Colt. He's creeping up, trying to finish this elimination onto Pedro Arthur, but he's just not letting him have any of it. Kyozera finds the elimination over on the right lane as the noose begins to tighten. Now we are finally seeing CYP FA get some damage onto Free Agent safe.
It's still pretty early on in that game, but we are going to be hopping into that final minute. So both teams are going to try to, you know, pick up the pace a bit more, get a bit more aggressive, get some more damage to be comfortable, because those final pushes in the final few seconds are going to be very dangerous, and you want to have as much as a lead as you can. Look at that damage coming through from Pedro.
Look at that. Pedro finds another opportunity to get some big damage out onto the safe here. Free Agents are in the lead right now. CYP FA has to find an opportunity to get themselves some map control, get some they don't need a lot of time. That's the first kill that they're going to look in this final probably push here. 25 seconds left on the clock. Teddie, another crucial kill. Now we start to see the damage flowing in as CYP FA look to make their move.
Yeah, this is going to be their final chance if they want to take back the lead, if they want to steal this win from Free Agents. CYP, they need to get a good push going. There's a bit of damage coming through. Nice bounces from VT Zim. That's the lead.
Is that gonna do it?
That's gonna be the win.
Oh, that's gonna do it. Oh my gosh, the 1% in the final moments there. Honestly, I was ready to count them out of that game. I thought Free Agents were gonna be able to take that one. Incredible 1% difference comeback there at the final second. But that can happen, Teddie, when you have these incredibly high DPS, long-range brawlers. It doesn't take a lot of time, and frankly, it doesn't take a lot of map control either. Pedro, he only moved in. He really only had 2 good opportunities to do damage to the safe, but look at how much he was able to do completely on his own. I don't even know that any of his teammates even did a single % of damage. Most of that was as a result of the Colt.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the great thing with Colt is if you try to tank those shots, you're going to take so much damage. Look at Pedro. He dealt so much damage. And in the end, Dog, even though he dealt a lot less damage on the save, that was still his team that picked up the win. So maybe a bit more versatility across the team, a bit more overall damage. And I want to point out one thing that really saved the day for CYP towards the end was that Jesse, actually, because even if you tank those Jesse shots, the bounces, they're going to go to the safe because it's the closest entity nearby. So that's like, you get value on a player, which you just, take down, plus some bounces and extra damage on the save. It's so much value, and you can't do anything about it, because if you dodge the shot, it's going to go straight up on the save. And if you tank it, it's going to still bounce on the save. So it's a bit of a, you can't really do much about it. You just need to take her down as quickly as you can, and she was hitting her shots very well.
Ooh, same exact comps. I mean, how can you not run this one back, Teddie? The difference in safe HP was a mere 1% separating CYP from free agents there. VTZim, he's been extremely patient here, controlling mid, never really gets aggressive, never really finds himself out of position here, always looking to do damage to brawlers rather than the safe, really just trying to set up Dog, I think, to do as much damage as possible, and damage he did, 70%. 30% already dealt to this free agent safe here. Dog finding so much value early on.
Yeah, that's a really solid start. Now it's about retaking the middle area. Railson finds a nice kill, but yeah, he's gonna get traded out. And VTZim is turret not really gonna stay alive as long as he wanted to. Pedro gets melted down as well.
Oh my goodness.
We have a bit of a chaotic fight right now.
Jessie always does more damage than you think she's gonna do here. This is a hard-hitting brawler. Look at that perfect accuracy from Dog. He has his supercharge. His teammates are already moved up, wailing on this save. 59% and counting here. Dog ready to do some damage. The boys not getting too over-aggressive, though. They know they have a commanding lead, and it is really up to them to throw it at this point. I think this is the type of lead that is not going to be able to be dealt with, barring a massive mistake from CYP FA.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one, but the thing is, at this level of gameplay in Heist, if you make the slightest mistake, it can actually cost you a lot, and it can go very quickly. But so far, it's not looking like CYP are looking to make any of those mistakes just yet. They're getting more and more damage. Just got that save below 50%. Scrappy placed by Ambrosator, but it's gonna get taken down before it can fire a single shot. Pedro with a bit of a miss on those couple of shots. He's gonna get melted down by Dog. Dog with a double kill. That's gonna be a ton of value coming on the save in the next couple of seconds. This is looking good for CYP.
Oh, Mr. P gets the kill in the mirror matchup as well in his lane. 11 seconds, a very commanding lead here as the clock ticks down. 7, 6, 5, 4. It goes. CYP's Mr. P. He's not even bothered with playing defense anymore. He's going to continue to throw briefcases, getting more and more damage. Overall, about a 35-ish or so % lead when that game clicks out there. So CYP able to grab yet another win in Heist. But again, this is that semifinal. This is that best of 5. This is not do or die just yet for free agents. They still have plenty of time to kind of mentally reset, bounce back, and do what they do.
Exactly. At least no clean 2-0s anymore. You will see at least 3 sets, so a bit more time for the teams to adapt, to react, and to get those mental resets. We always talk about it so often, but you know, in Brawl Stars, the different games and sets are so short that it's really important to get those resets, to be able to, you know, come back with a clean and strong motivation coming into the next set. So we'll have to see if they're able to make this work, free agents, or if CYP are going to be coming in hot for set 2. The Colt matchup right here, this time Dog was a lot more damage on save, so a bit of a reverse situation, a lot more kills as well for the same amount of deaths. So great stuff from Dog, really playing that second game well.
You know, so he got that double kill down the stretch, which I think kind of inflates that kill stat a little bit. I do want to still give credit to Pedro Arthur. I think overall Pedro played a little bit better, especially when when things were allowed to be a vacuum, a pure 1v1 in that lane mirror matchup, Pedro, he was kind of giving it to Kyle Dog a little bit there. I actually want to give a lot of credit to VT Zim playing the Jesse in the mid lane. I think he was so in control of mid most of that game that he was able to kind of, you know, toss a couple shots here and there off to his teammates to try and help them win their lane matchups as well. So definitely it's a team game. It doesn't really matter who wins the mirror matches if your team is able to win as a whole. But moving on now from Heist, that's a 2-0 victory. We're going to be moving to Super Stadium, playing my personal favorite of the day, Brawl Ball. Brawl Ball and Heist, those are my two modes. I'm starting to like Hot Zone a little bit more, but Heist and Brawl Ball are just very near and dear to my heart.
I mean, there's some of the more OG game modes, right? We've seen them so many times. I think Brawl Ball is the most popular game mode in the game, so it's always fun. Yeah,
it's the game. I think it's the game within the game, right? Soccer is the most popular game in the world, and Brawl Ball is fun because, you know, you guys said it best. You not only have to be good at Brawl Stars, but you have to be able to apply that and just have good football sense about you and be able to score your goals, position the ball, position yourself. There was a moment earlier where you guys mentioned that mechanic where it actually does cost you an ammo to be able to shoot that ball. So that's something to keep in mind. You can't just kick the ball willy-nilly because you're not going to have anything left to actually play offense with.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Brawl Ball is also the home of some of the flashiest plays in Brawl Stars.
Definitely.
We saw the trick shot earlier, but you don't even need it to be a trick shot, to be a crazy shot where, you know, you have the possibility also to like self-pass with certain brawlers, so you like pass to yourself and
I love that.
Have some way of like, you know, getting forward quicker than if you were just running around. And there's so much of that absolutely epic stuff, and so far it's gonna be the first 2 kills going the way of CYP.
BT Zim again. It's not super flashy, but this the jukes in the midfield, the control and the dominance in his matchup. You got to give credit to this guy, and you got to pay attention. The composition's almost exactly the same here. Mr. P, Jesse, and the Nita being the only swap up here. Both teams electing to go with the Nita instead of the Colt this time. Bear spawned out, looking to get aggressive here. VT Zim stuffs the ball in the enemy Nita's face. She burns her super trying to kick the ball away. I don't know. Was that a mistake? Did she mean to super kick the ball there?
I think she was aiming her bear, and then she placed it at the moment she got the ball, so she shot the ball instead.
Oh, that's brutal. VT Zim there. Whether you want to give him credit for the big brain pass, but that's a part of the game. That's the game within the game, Teddie, is if you can stuff an enemy brawler, force them to do something with the ball, you're either forcing them to spend an ammo, or in worst case scenario, like we just saw, accidentally spend a super on a pretty much worthless super kick.
Yeah, I mean, it's a part of it, especially when you get into those close range fights. If you can, you know, burn some ammo at the right time, it can be extremely valuable. Now, Kyozera has a bear available. This could be big if he can place it in the correct time, but against a Jessie, it's not the easiest task.
It is not easy, as she is going to be able to be bouncing for free off of the bear that Nita spawns. Look at the ball, though. It's just kind of, it's stored away, safely tucked in this top right corner. It's very difficult for CYP to win enough team fights back to back to back fast enough to actually do something here. The bear looking like it's going to clean up the enemy Nita, and it does. VT Zim moving in with his friendly bear, grabs the ball, looking to get this one to midfield here, and just barely has enough juice to get it across the line. CYP with the first goal of Brawl Ball. Only 20 seconds left on the clock. Teddie, free agents have to make a move soon.
Yeah, I really like that play from CYP. We'll get over it after this game. Let's see if free agents are able to get a push going, but that bear is so threatening, and I don't think there's time. No.
Here comes the bear.
More time.
Look at the bear. The bear was just staring him down. I'm coming for you. I don't even think Mr. P would have been able to get that one back to center field to even have an opportunity to score there. Pretty slow game, frankly, overall. It's that slow kind of grinding. When you see these compositions that have zero mobility, it's really the way the game has to be. You have to win the team fight, move the ball up, win another team fight, move the ball up, and then maybe even win a third team fight to finally get an opportunity to score there. Kyozera 4-0 over Ambrosador in the Nita versus Nita matchup. Again, Really great performance there from the side lanes. But Teddie, I don't want to stop watching VT Zim here in the mid. I think he's really doing a lot for his team, constantly winning mid control and being able to help whichever lane might be needing assistance a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that this game, what I really liked about it is the very slow build-up, which actually resulted in a goal with only like 20 seconds left, which was absolutely perfect timing, right? Because you get that goal, you get some extra morale boost, and there's only 20 seconds left, so your opponents, they need to go for a desperate push, and you can allow yourself to just play it extremely defensively and just hold on for that timer to count down.
Run it back here. Early damage lead for Free Agents. They clear the ball up to almost the goal line here. VT Zim is going to take that opportunity to safely tuck the ball away in the bottom left hand of your screen. Kyodog trying to win this, but again, it's always VT Zim. He's floating from left to right, taking these losing matchups, frankly, that his teammates are struggling with and making them into wins. VT Zim, across the entirety of this match so far, has been the impact player for me.
Yeah, I think that a big part of it is he's just winning those duels in the middle, and even though he's not particularly like getting kills on Pedro, yeah, that's gonna be a goal. That has to be
28 HP. Mr. P dunks it in there and grabs it. That is a 1-0 goal lead here. CYP already winning the first game of Brawl Ball. If they're able to grab another goal or just time out the clock here, they will win this second set. Again, this is the semifinals. This is best of 5, so they will need to win the next set on top of this as well. The match will not end here in Brawl Ball, no matter what.
Yeah, Free Agents a bit more on the offensive side of things now. Pedro trying to heal up his turret as much as he can, but it just
that's a losing
not
duel.
enough. Yeah, that's just not enough, especially when you get multiple players like spamming it. It's gonna go down eventually. Kyodog forced to Railstone. That's gonna be the chance for Free Agents to push up and get in a better position. But that means that he is coming back invulnerable for a couple of seconds. Doesn't quite manage to find a lot of value with that. Let's see if Free Agents can get a bit more aggressive here. Nice stun. That's gonna be a kill on Kyozira. Free Agents, they are in a 3-on-1 against VT Zim. He falls as well. This is gonna be a tough defense for CYP.
But you look at the ball positioning, game within the game. It was tucked away safely. Body block there. Nice defense from Kyozera. Clears the ball to the left-hand side of the screen. 15 seconds left on the clock. Again, CYP are in the lead. They tuck the ball safely into the bottom left. They're going to post up on top of it. Defense on defense. There's just no way to get through both of these brawlers. Get to the ball, clear it to center field as the clock hits 0. CYP. Again, that was a very early goal, and they just played defense for the next minute and 30 seconds. They were not interested in scoring that second goal whatsoever.
Yeah, it's a dangerous strategy in the sense that it's quite safe to play defensively. The problem is that if you start losing some fights, you're very close up to your goal. So if you lose, 2-3 players, even just one, you're close to the goal. So it's going to be really tough because you have no space to fall back. Whereas if you're the attacking team, you have plenty of space to fall back. Even if you get completely wiped as a team, you can just, fall back to your defense, regroup, and get in a good situation. And honestly, the fact that CYP managed to just, play it so defensively and not have any cracks, even when they lost players, even when they got like a full-on team wipe, they still managed to pull back and defend it properly. So honestly, props for them for getting those timing rights, for being able to rotate their respawns in time so that there will always be at least one player defending.
That's right. I think that goes to show just how safe that strategy was, Teddie. Like you mentioned, man, they got wiped. They were getting killed. They were losing fights. They were getting wiped off the face of the map. But because that ball was tucked so far in the corner, it was just too safe. It was just too much to ask to win the fight, go get that, bring it back, win another fight, get the ball, score. It was just so much to overcome there. A great defense, but Brawl Ball is going to go the way of CYP. Again, one more set to go, and they might be able to take this one here. Gem grab on Minecart Madness is what is going to be up next. This is the match point. This would guarantee, if they can win it, CYP that spot in the monthly finals, grand finals here. Snake Prairie, Bounty, only if necessary. Bot Drop and Siege, only if necessary. Gem Grab is the one that we're here to watch. And the potential 3-0 here for CYP. On Gem Grab, on Minecart Madness, what types of compositions are we expecting, given what we've seen here so far today, Teddie?
Yeah, I think that there are quite a lot of possibilities. The meta really changes according to the regions on this map. We see some where they go for a bit more of a healing and sustainability comp. Some others focusing a bit more on the tags. And here, if you look at this matchup, we had so much Mr. P and Jesse, and they are going to be back right now. Jesse in the middle, Mr. P's on that right lane. And 8-bit mirror matchup as well. I think 8-bit on the top there actually got tagged by the minecart. He did indeed.
Uh-oh. And 8-bit is a very slow, if not the slowest brawler in the game when he doesn't have his super down. VT's in with 28 HP there, but ice in his veins. He lands the big shot there to win yet another mid lane matchup. This guy cannot be stopped. 8-bit is the first, or for CYP's, the first super goes down, but the minecart, almost the MVP there, as the cheat code gadget is procced to teleport KyleZero back to safety.
Yeah, and looking at this game, but just overall this entire match, I have to say CYP so far, they're just superior mechanically. Because if you look at those matchups on the right and center parts of the map, it is a mirror matchup. It has been pretty much for the entire series so far. And the real difficulty when you are playing against a Jesse and a Mr. P is going to be the amount of ammunition going all over the place and being so hard to dodge, because dodging one brawler shot is not really hard per se, at least at this high level of gameplay. Dodging multiple shots that are bouncing between different brawlers and placed entities, plus Mr. P, that has some extra mechanics to his shots as well. It's so interesting. This is looking like a countdown though, as VT Zim is gonna get to that 10 gem. He does fall, but KyleZero has plenty of health.
Oh, he just barely, look at that, 8-bit gets all 10 gems, just barely gets out of the way of that minecart as well. That would have been big trouble on Minecart Madness if KyleZero was pinched off by the minecart on what is nearly the slowest brawler in the game. 3, 2, 1 goes the clock. The emotes are starting to fly. CYP grabs the first win in game number 1 of Gem Grab. A single map win stands between them and a spot in the finals here. Mechanical superiority is the words that you use, Teddie, and sometimes it just comes down to that, hitting a lot of your shots. I thought Railson had some great positioning there as he gets hit by the minecart twice, but outside of that, he got very aggressive and had some great moments dueling with KyleZero, but ultimately it's just not enough. Here's the moment though, KyleZero scoops all those gems and just barely gets out of the way of the minecart before being claimed himself. Take a look at some of these stats here. Gems grab. These are both of your mid laners, obviously, so their gem grab stats are going to be very, very high. VT Zim, though, he's been winning this Jesse matchup all day long, and that's all he's had to play all day long. Jesse is all my man is worried about.
Yeah, I think he may have only played Jesse in this matchup.
You're right. Played it on Bounty, played it on Gem Grab, played it on Brawl Ball.
I mean, if you're winning it, why change? You know what I mean? Like, especially if free agents, they're not really willing to rotate off that comp and that Jesse and the Mr. P. Go for the mirror matchups, to be honest. Like, don't take any risks. If you're winning those fights, you don't have to change anything. Free agents, on the other hand, that's where I would say that probably, they should consider changing some things left and right. But similar comp for them, it's going to be CYP bringing in the Colette instead of the 8-bit. I really like that one because it's going to be really easy to hit those shots on the 8-bit. He just is so slow, plus extra damage against the damage booster. And the fact that 8-bit is quite tanky and Colette doesn't really care about how much HP you have. I mean, it's a great decision, I think, from KyleZero.
Oh my goodness, and you just see the damage there. Proccing the cheat code, teleporting back. KyleZero not wanting to get involved just yet. Hits a couple more shots here. 8-bit is still plugged in, very fast right now, but his cartridge goes down, and him not long after. A lot of poke damage between the Mr. P's. Oh, cinched off by the minecart there. There it is, in and out. Time to collect 2 gems exactly there. That's already 9-0 here. CYP need a single gem to start their countdown, Teddie, and a single countdown stands between them and a spot in the finals.
Indeed, Karazira are going to be looking for those tanks, but some nice bounces. And honestly, right now, A-Bit is just so easy to bounce shots off for VTZim on that Jesse. Yeah, unlucky timing on that minecart. Great super from Karazira. That's creating some extra space, but they still need that extra gem, preferably on one of the players already holding gems. They're going to do just that. Oh, that was a bit close. That was a bit closer than I'm comfortable with. But it is all safe right now for CYP. Pedro Archer is going to be the final chance here for free agents to pick up a kill and cancel the counter, but he's running away. There
it is. Match over. CYP, congratulations to our first finalists, as that win there in Jeb Grab secures them the 3-0 overall in the match, and they will be moving on to meet the winner of the next semifinal, one that I'm very excited for. But let's cap off our thoughts here on this one. I thought VTZim, frankly, played very, very well all day. He played the same brawler every time, which is great when you can make it work here. But you guys mentioned that this is a relatively new scene with a lot of new teams. Is that what you think is contributing towards the excessive amount of mirror matches that we saw in this region today?
I'm not entirely sure. I think that one of the reasons, I mean, definitely related to what you're saying right now, is going to be the fact that, you know, it's one of their first appearances in such a high level event for Brawl Stars. So they want to play it safe. They aren't really comfortable going for picks. They haven't really practiced enough before, or going for very specific counters. They're just gonna play it, you know, by the book, and not take any risks that could, you know, lead towards a disadvantage. They just want to play it safe, you know, not taking any unnecessary risks. And so far, it's working out great for CYP.
A lot of fun moments here on Minecart Madness. One of how is this map looked upon by the competitors? Did they get annoyed by the minecarts, or is this universally loved?
Oh, this one is a bit of a weird one. It is probably one of the most disliked amongst pros to play, but it's also one of the most liked to watch. So it's a bit tough. There's a bit of RNG on which side the first minecart is going to spawn on, which is obviously going to impact how easy it is to take initial control, and it's easier to keep control once you have it than retaking it. So it's a bit of a mixed feeling situation here. But moving on to our second semifinal, that's going to be INTZ versus CLASH Latam. Probably one of the more iconic matchups that we've had throughout the previous year. And they're meeting already in the semifinal. That's going to be tough because one of those teams only can make it to the finals. The other one is going to have to settle for third/fourth.
That's right. CYP awaits the winner between INTZ and CLASH Latam. Teddie, this is like you said, two heavyweight teams here in the Latin American South region. And I don't want to look too far ahead of where we're at right now exactly, but do you think CYP, they're the first seed today, do they have what it takes to stop INTZ, or what it takes to stop CLASH? Whichever team meets them in the final, do they have that reputation? Do they have those type of chops?
I mean, it's a bit of a tough story. I do feel like so far no team that CYP has met has the level of skill and excellence that INTZ and CLASH Latam has. But on the other hand, I mean, they have met those teams and played extremely well. So we'll have to see if they are going to be up for the challenge against the Titans that either CLASH or INTZ are going to be in those finals. But first, obviously, we're going to have to see which one is going to make it to the finals, right?
That's right. CLASH Latam and INTZ going up against each other. If you want to judge this matchup based off the dominance that we saw from each in the quarterfinals, I would say I would honestly be leaning a little bit towards INTZ. INTZ ran a lot of different comps. They ran a lot of different brawlers. They looked very confident on multiple different strategies. And I think that type of versatility obviously is part of the reason that they have had the type of success in the past that we've already seen from them. But CLASH is not to be underestimated either. They were really, really versatile in getting that win, specifically looking, you know, at some of those Edgar picks coming through in the hot zone. There were some really, really tight moments that they remained cool under pressure. It's time to flex that big brain of yours as we take a look here at the bans. It's the Byron, it's the Ruffs, the double Byron, as well as the Amber. And when the double ban comes through like this, these are blind bans, Teddie. Explain to the viewers what exactly that means.
So basically, each team has 2 bans available, but they do them at the same time without knowing what the bans are on the other side. So it's basically like 1, 2, 3. Here are the bans from each team. We'll see if any of them overlap. So basically here, because we have 2 Byron bans, it's as if there were 3 bans total. So Byron, Ruffs, Amber are going to be out, which, you know, as we talked about earlier, and in previous regions as well, those are the go-to bans right now, the strongest brawlers in the game. If you look, across all game modes, they are so consistent and they make a lot of sense. Look at this. We have a Rico on that left side for Clash Latam. And those are some nice bounces.
P.E.K.K.A gets the early elimination. The first blood has been drawn as Clash Latam moves in. The double tick super head to head. They both explode at the same exact time, opening up the map a little bit here. So the thrower not really necessary now as that wall has been broken down. Frankly, that's just an advantage for P.E.K.K.A, who can now bounce off a little bit more. Has that line of sight onto Marcel, who is much less safe than he originally was.
Yeah, that's something we see very often, especially with Stick being so meta right now. Just this ability to open up the map on split here in the center area, and it makes it a bit easier to help your teammates, especially if you look at situations like here where Firecrow already is done capturing his hot zone. He can just go help out if he wants to without really leaving the area completely undefended. So it's going to make it a bit easier to help out your teammates, have a few extra angles to hold. P.E.K.K.A with a super, not going to find any connections there. 1 tag on Firecrow, but that's not nearly going to be enough. And INTZ, they run away with an extremely convincing win here in hot zone.
They certainly do. I mean, that's almost 100-0. I mean, INTZ give up the first blood, but the control never left their hands. I want to ask you something. Firecrow, he wins his hot zone pretty quickly on, and you mentioned, you know, he can kind of rotate, he can kind of do what he wants, but he doesn't. He really kind of sticks around and makes sure that Gozera cannot get any free progress, and he doesn't. Not a single % is grabbed on that right hot zone for Clash Latam. INTZ's Firecrow was all over it. Why do you make that decision to just lock it down? Is it not smarter to just 3-man just overwhelm the remaining hot zone and close the game?
I think he definitely could have. But the thing is, you had P.E.K.K.A on that Rico, which with his super, you know, he doesn't care if there's 1, 2, or 3 people. He can hit all of them, get massive value. And the thing is here, Firecrow, he didn't need to help his teammate. They were doing just fine. Just getting in there and, you know, making it a bit easier for the opponents to get more hits, especially, with a Jesse that can get some nice value on those bounces. He just didn't need to. He just could lock down his position if his teammates needed help. If they lost 1 or 2 players on that left side, he could have rotated over and helped out immediately. Just because it's the case, if it wasn't destroyed, he would have had to run all the way around, so he wouldn't be able to just chill there. He would have either to commit fully to that push or fully defend. Here he could be a bit in between and adapt to what they give him. Tino is gonna get jumped on by Sinval. That's a quick kill to open things up.
I don't understand this. Both of these teams switching up their compositions wildly, but to the same thing, the Poco BB Surge. After it went so well for INTZ in the first game, what's the reasoning to want to switch it up so heavily?
I think it's all about mind games. It's about mind games, about preparation, knowing what your opponents tend to do. Those are probably the 2 most well-known teams in Latam, which means that they practice and scrim against each other a lot. Probably the teams that practice against each other the most in the entire Latam competition. So they know each other very well. They probably know, those little sneaky strategies and comps they want to go for. And I'm guessing both teams were just ready to counter each other here.
Well, this time it's Marcel and Firecrow who are able to grab the left hot zone very, very quickly. Now we've got 3 members of INTZ capturing away nearly for free. P.E.K.K.A is pinched between Marcel and Firecrow. He's going to have to pick one direction that he wants to go. He chooses Firecrow, but is knocked back. The home run swing is good. Look at Firecrow getting so much healing from his Poco. He's able to just swing for the fences here. This one's going to be close. It's going to be Clash Latam, just narrowly a 1% margin. That's the second time today we have seen a hot zone game come down to a single percentage point.
Yeah, absolutely crazy, especially since we had some really like fights on the hot zone, and having fights in the zones means that both teams are capturing them at the same time, even if they are fighting. You know, you might think that it's gonna cancel or something like that. No, it both continues to move on and get those extra ticks of capture time. And this time, Clash Latam, they were just there for one more second, and that was enough to win this game.
My goodness, the dominance here from Sinval's Surge. 5 kills to Adino's 2. 289 average DPS with only 2 deaths to his name. I feel like that's the highest DPS stat that I have seen so far today. So good on you, Sinval from Clash. Playing that Surge, again, very interesting to see the mind games, as you put it, right? That first game goes heavily in favor of INTZ. Both teams make a very sweeping composition change, but to the exact same thing. And I think you nailed it, right? That's got to be the answer. These teams just know each other inside and out. That's the only reason we would see some type of like completely sweeping swap onto a new composition, but for it to be the exact same mirror match again.
I mean, it seems a lot more likely than them just, you know, going for random picks and being the exact same. Exactly. But yeah, that can also happen too, of course. I think that, you know, in Brawl Stars, and the more you get used to the competitive scene, you will see some patterns in the teams that, you know, something we used to see all the time is if you lose a game, just go Poco double tank. And I'm guessing that, you know, this is to a certain extent what's happening here. Obviously, Poco double tank not quite as effective since the map is so split out. Therefore, the name Split for the map. But yeah, you do have that Poco tank on Clash Latam. INTZ, they try to match it previous game. This time will be a bit different. They're going to open things up here early on. Pekka is going to fall, and that leaves Guzira to defend on that left side.
Ooh, Edinho having no problems taking down that leveled up Surge. BB moving in, Pekka coming roaring out of the bushes here, just out of range of Edinho. Gets in range for that final sling, manages to get the trade out though. Here comes the tick head in, massive damage from Marcel. And it's just the lonely Poco strumming his solo. He's going to be able to pop his own super heal to keep himself alive. Guzera being a little bit more competitive in the 2v1 than I think I was ready to give him credit for. The final fadeaway shot from Tick is going to be enough to take him down. But Clash Latam, Teddie, are in a very commanding position. 90% and counting on this final hot zone.
Yeah, and right now with this high of a lead and this close from victory, they need to commit a lot on that defense. They will be able to defend it successfully, but even then it's only 3%. One more TP, one more tanky BB could be enough here. There's more damage coming through, and that's gonna be enough for INTZ.
They're not able to get in there. My goodness, these hot zone games today are coming down to the wire. Single percentages are making the difference, Teddie. This has been an incredible day for hot zone. And this is almost the composition that I expected to see in game number 2. This was the run back from game number 1 when INTZ was able to dominate. It's a win. It's not a dominant win like it was in game number 1, but a win nonetheless, and a win that they're happy to get. The first set goes their way. Hot zone is in the bag for INTZ. Congratulations to them. They have a long way to go. This is the best of 5. This is our bottom side of the bracket semifinal. So 2 more set victories will be required for INTZ if they are going to go forward and meet CYP in the finals here. This is a little bit of a highlight reel from game number 1. When it was a 100 to, I think 19. I think that was it. I think that was all that Clash Latam was able to grab for themselves as the final percentage points tick back down. Game number 2, very different story here. Big comp switch ups. Not quite the Poco double tank, but this one's basically a split up map here. So the Surge v Surge on the right hand of your screen going heavily in favor of Sinval from Clash Latam, gave them the win narrowly in game number 2. And then of course in game number 3 we did see the composition run back for INTZ. Tick and Jesse and Mr. P able to narrowly eke this one out. I gotta be honest, man, this last game could have gone either way. Really close in a lot of those moments.
Yeah, I just want to point out the importance of that open map here. Look how easy and smooth the rotations are for INTZ. Whenever Edinho wants, he can go help out defense. Marcel, obviously as a thrower, has a bit of an easy time helping out as well because he doesn't really care too much about those walls being there in the first place. But yeah, oh my, that's a lot of damage from Firecrow. Firecrow, I just want to point out that is his first monthly final competing. He was already kind of with INTZ last year, but he was not old enough to play in the monthly finals yet.
There you go. Well, a coming of age story here as we move on to the second set of our second semifinal. It is Brawl Ball. It is early moves being made by Clash Latam, able to clear the ball. This is really, really good here. Guizera trying to run, trying to catch up here. Edinho passes to himself, pops the Rosa shield, and is just gonna muscle it in. INTZ will score the first goal.
That is a crazy amount of tanking here for Edinho. He's gonna be back defending here. Can he find Guizera? He should be able to pick up that kill quite comfortably. We'll do just that. There's a good push there. That's a lot of health as well on Sinval, but he does go down before he can reach that goal. And INTZ, they defend this successfully. Clash Latam, they are gonna have to go back and focus on their next push.
Is this a big head max skin, or is her head always that big and I've just never noticed it? Look at the, real quick, the sprout wall there absolutely locking down the ball. Literally zero way to access the objective right now. Firecrow is going to be all over this one with the early goal lead. They are tucking this one away. There's no way to destroy the map here. Sinval's going to try and get in there on the Rosa, going to try and run it down. As Firecrow knows he's about to lose this 1v1 to Rosa, he simply blocks off the ball and laughs his way to the bank.
I just want to comment that Uber had the same exact reaction to the El Brown skin for El Primo, and he just laughed for like 5 minutes straight about him having a big head. And I think I'm gonna make a video compilation of casters react to like big head brawlers or something like that, because you guys are just reacting the same exact way.
I was like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, that's not how big her head always is. I'm tripping at this point. The ball still tucked away. You can just barely see it. Bottom right-hand side of your screen. Firecrow is more than happy to let these people try and spawn camp him in his goal. He is going to throw out the wall, entirely block this one off. Again, this composition from Clash has no way to destroy terrain, so it would have to come down to overtime, but overtime is not going to be in the cards. Another wall is ready.
Yep,
they're going to just block off the goal there. Oh, toxic Sprout gameplay here, baby, as the early goal. Frankly, that's the critical part, right? If you don't get that early goal, you can't really utilize Sprout in that defensive way, right? You would have to stay on the offensive there, but it is only because of the early goal that we see this type of dominant map control play come out from INTZ. And here it is, the pass to himself, Edinho muscling his way through to get that goal. Not getting a lot of kills, both Rosas dying a lot, but all that matters was that single goal scored by Edinho.
Yeah, and the problem here for Clash is it wasn't even a bad game. They started off with a really strong early push. It's just that they lost the ball, and that meant that INTZ, they started running up with the ball. They had, you know, Clash-like players behind them that had to follow them up, and it was just a bit of an awkward situation, a bit of a placement mistake from Clash, which at this level of gameplay, once again, the slightest mistakes, they are going to cost you games, and this is, you know, one of those cases.
Unfortunately, they do cost them the game, and we've seen some good Sprout walls here today, but that map lent itself extremely well to that defensive play there. Looking forward to see. I'm really enjoying seeing Sprout. I mean, the thrower gameplay, it's pretty widespread at this point between him, Tick, Mr. P. We even saw a little bit of Barley today. I mean, the throwers are in a very good spot, it seems, across, not just in Latin America, but across the world. Very heavily picked brawlers here. We're about ready to get into game number 2 of Brawl Ball here. INTZ lead the Brawl Ball set 1-0, lead the match 1-0 here. Firecrow with the early frag here. Edinho, is he just going to run it down again, trying to clear the ball into the corner here. It's the quick 1-2 into center field as Firecrow is given credit for that goal. INTZ with the early goal yet again. Teddie, do we see the... Oh, no, so they don't have the Sprout, so they can't run back the pure defense strategy that they had last time going. But my goodness, these guys have just looked dominant so far in Brawl Ball.
Yeah, I don't think they need a defensive strategy. They have Edinho on that Rosa, and there's no one on Clash Latam that is going to be able to melt him down. He's gonna have so much HP, especially with that shield. This could already be a goal here if he pushes forward, but he's playing it rather safe, even though they have a huge health advantage as well. Marcel does get tagged down a bit now. Edinho gonna be looking to push forward. I think he's waiting for the perfect timing, but it's gotta be a challenge for Clash to take him down. He has so much health, so much shield as well. I don't really see how they can deal with him.
Grazero on the Nita. Need to see this character getting involved a little bit. Need to get one of those supers charged. That's really where Nita looks to make her move, when she can push forward fearlessly with the bear. The turret comes out from P.E.K.K.A. Really not liking the positioning, not liking what he's seeing, not wanting to push up. It just looks like everyone is on a little bit of a different page here, Teddie. Clash Latam, P.E.K.K.A. falling back as his teammates push forward. They both die. P.E.K.K.A.'s still alive somehow, and I don't know. It's a bit helter-skelter here in game number 2 of Brawl Ball. I think panic might starting to be setting in.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting close to that second set closing out. And Clash Latam, they aren't in the easiest spot. P.E.K.K.A. still alive, but he goes down to a porter. Marcel gonna be pushing up slowly with the ball, actually just gonna hold on to middle control, not gonna take any risks.
Yeah.
And at this stage of the competition, I mean, if you're leading by 1 and you feel like defensively you're doing just fine, then you know, you don't need to overcommit. You don't need to go for a push, especially 15 seconds away from the end. Just play it safe, win your fights, and that's going to be enough. INTZ are going to take set number 2. That's going to be 2-0 for them. And I mean, honestly, so far, I'm really impressed by their level of gameplay.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, they made it to the grand finals of the World Championship. They are a solid team. We all know that already. But on the other hand, they've had some huge roster changes as well. So, you know, no one really knew where they would be at. Obviously, it's a fresh talent that are really, really good at this game as well. But, you know, they still had to prove themselves. And so far, they've done just that tonight.
Yeah, starting to get down to business here as we see the even Porter for INTZ picking up a couple of kills here in the midfield. We haven't seen too many Porter kills so far today, but what we have seen a lot of, quite frankly, is the Jesse eliminations. I mean, this character for Latin American South has really been a dominant force here. And as we see Fire Crow, how he stacks up against P.E.K.K.A. It is the Agent 003 here for P.E.K.K.A. on his Jesse, and the 3 kills to the goals scored to the single death here. Fire Crow having a great showing. I'm really looking forward, if it is INTZ going to meet CYP in the final, how those Jessies stack up against each other is really, really gonna, I think, be a big factor in who manages to win the grand finals. And there's only one more set standing between INTZ and a spot in the grand finals. It will be Ice Fort Gem Grab is the name of the game here. So far dominant, 2-0 there in Brawl Ball, 2-1 in Hot Zone. Very, very close in Hot Zone, but much more dominant showing in Brawl Ball. Teams have their strengths and weaknesses, Teddie, as they kind of move from game mode to game mode here. On Gem Grab, it's the classic marquee Brawl Stars game mode. It's the first game mode I think you're exposed to when you download the game. This is, I think it's a pretty fitting one to maybe put the end here to Clash.
I mean, INTZ have been looking convincing so far, and even though Hot Zone, you know, had their ups and downs.
And their moments.
Yeah, exactly. Clash showed up some really great stuff. I feel like in Brawl Ball, INTZ started to really show, you know, a bit of a skill difference, a bit of a better advantage coming into this matchup. Gem Grab is a bit more back to the roots as well, just like Brawl Ball. So I'm expecting INTZ to keep doing just as well. But, you know, who knows? Maybe Clash can come in with something interesting. I'm expecting probably some Sprouts, probably maybe some Jesse actually to replace Sprout in the middle. I mean, we've seen Jesse being so popular in the region today.
Yeah.
And definitely, you know, maybe some 8-bit lane or Rosa or even Colette. We've seen some Mr. P action too. There are a lot of different options on this map.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, and the amount of variety that you can just see, and the way that just this format is set up is something that I just love about Brawl Stars, and it's something that really keeps it interesting, right? There's moments at times as a commentator, as I'm sure you're aware of, when you almost feel like you're in a little bit of a rhythm. You're almost like predicting the bans before you see them. You're predicting the comps before you see them, but just being able to cycle through all these different game modes, and even within a game mode, to look at something, you know, that is a wildly different map, looking at a minecart madness versus a ice fort, right? Like even the map, disregarding the mode, can absolutely dictate what compositions are run where. So you really just, you force these teams to show us what you got. You got to run a lot of different stuff. You got to be comfortable on a lot of different maps with a lot of different brawlers in a lot of different game modes. And it really leaves you coming away with the feeling of, all right, when a team wins a match like this, they truly are the better Brawl Stars players.
Yeah, exactly. It's, you know, versatility is kind of the name of the game here. Firecrow, though, is going to be in a bit of an intense duel here as he lost both his teammates and he's trying to hold on to that middle control as much as he can. But Clash, they're able to pick up the 4 first gems. There are some more in the middle area as well. Uzira is going to be picking them up. That's already 7 to his name.
Speed. My goodness, the move speed here. Colette trying to deal with this tank, but it's P.E.K.K.A that just narrowly comes out on top. This is Latam in the lead. 7 gems to nothing, 9 gems to nothing. P.E.K.K.A's going to have all 9 of these. Teddie, is this a bad thing? Do they want these gems on Rosa?
I mean, you definitely don't want the gems on Rosa, but it's going to be better to have them on Rosa than, you know, on INTZ. So
that's right. Can't argue with that.
I guess
one.
It could be worse. It could be worse, especially the problem becomes once your gems are split out across multiple brawlers, and then you can't really throw any meat to go tank or go take any risks or distractions. Here, it's P.E.K.K.A on every single gem. So at least his teammates can, you know, focus on protecting him for the next 12 seconds here. He takes a lot of damage. He's one shot. They could cancel it. Edinho just needs to line up the shot.
No, he's getting out of combat now. P.E.K.K.A just a little bit too tanky there. Even having to expend the max super. There it is from downtown. All 10 gems drop. How do we play this one, Teddie? We get him on the mobility character. Right, it is going to be Max that picks them all up and restarts the countdown. INTZ have just one more shot to stop this countdown.
Exactly. 7 seconds left. Only Edinho and Marcel here in that final fight. And that's going to be the end of it. Clash Latam. They take this game, and for the first time, they have the lead in a set.
Hot Zone was close. Brawl Ball was very, very heavily favored for INTZ. But I have to say, Teddie, Clash Latam, they just dominated here on Ice Fort. Gem grab was all theirs. P.E.K.K.A, you could see taking that risk, popping the super shield just to get a little bit tanky here. Edinho almost taking him down. This is the critical moment, though. Long range shots through the stealth there. Beautiful lead from Firecrow. Only 16 HP to his name. Able to at least stop the counter, but I mean, it was a landslide loss at that point. There were so many gems in favor of the Clash boys. They just simply could not be stopped. You can see here 13 gems grabbed here from P.E.K.K.A playing the Rosa. It's not ideal, like you mentioned, but of course, gems in the pockets of Rosa are certainly better than gems in the pockets of INTZ.
Yeah, and I think that a big reason this win went for Clash is those matchups, because if you look individually on paper, INTZ had a better comp. They had Colette, which counters Rosa. They had Mr. P that kind of counters Sandy in the extent that it has extra range, and when you have such a like straight up lane with not a lot of cover, it's gonna do really well. And what happened here is Colette ended up facing Mr. P, which is not a terrible matchup, but then their Mr. P for INTZ was facing the Rosa, which is a pretty horrific matchup because it's going to be a struggle to take her down. She's basically going to heal like 80% of the damage you deal to her. You can't sit in a bush, otherwise you're pretty much dead as well. And, you know, you're just... The advantage you had in the comp, they couldn't utilize it.
Let me ask you this. What's the best case of action? Like, what do I do in that scenario? Can I just coordinate a lane swap really quick to try and get that? Or does that give up too much map control to try and do that? Why do we not see the bad matchups just swapped out?
I think that's actually the way to go. I think they should have adapted a bit earlier to those, you know, to those lane swaps and be a bit more proactive instead of letting Clash decide who they would face. Wall. Yeah, that's a really solid wall indeed. And now INTZ, they are going to get into a great position, but they do lose map control here as Guzira is going to place another wall there, locking things down. He does go down with 4 gems. Pekka gonna try to deny control for Firecrow, but that's gonna
has the
leave
wall.
the map a bit open. Yeah, interesting decision for that wall. It's gonna save his life, but it's not really gonna grant him a better position for the center control.
Colette in a duel to the death in the bottom of your screen here with Marcel. One more shot will do it. Sinval has the range, but Edinho has the ammunition to take her down. Plugged in, moving around quickly. It is an 8-1 lead again. INTZ on the back foot in a big way, on a back foot in a way that they have not been all day. Playing from behind versus playing from ahead is a very, very different skill set. And I think it's one that INTZ, I'm not saying that they don't have it, but it's one that they have not had to tap into yet today.
Yeah, I mean, right now it does feel like they are really getting challenged. Great pickup from Sinval.
They're getting dominated.
Yeah, he doesn't even need the gems, you know, he's gonna pick up just
They're getting dominated.
another kill. And Clash, they are getting that countdown now. 8 seconds left, no one even close to Guzira holding on to those 11 gems. And Clash, Latam, they get their first set on the board. That's gonna be 2-1. Still a bit of a dangerous situation, but we are getting more hope on the side of Clash.
Gem grab. Whew, that was Clash from start to finish. There wasn't even really a the hypest moment was that really long range shot from Jesse that stopped the countdown. That was like the closest, the most excited you could get for INTZ in this set. They just kind of got bodied from start to finish here. Really no answer for Pecos Rosa. And then again, they swap up the comps a little bit in the next game as well. That's really what I've enjoyed watching here from Latin America. Even when something's working, they'll still switch it up just to keep their opponents on their toes, playing those mind games. Again, these are blind bans, these are blind picks. You don't really know what your opponent's going to be doing going into the game. So you have to pick something that you feel good about. I really, really enjoyed what I like seeing from Clash. And Teddie, this shows us that they can hit that mental reset. They can lose 2 sets straight. They can get dominated in Brawl Ball and come back and just get right up, knock INTZ on their butts as well in Gem Grab.
Yeah, and this is where, you know, experience is key because you can only practice that through, I mean, obviously, you know, you have your natural talent and ability to handle pressure, handle stressful situations. But Clash Latam, definitely one of the best teams for Latam last year. And they've had that exposure on the scene, that exposure to high levels of pressure. And you can definitely see they've learned from it. They have improved and they were able to get a perfect reset, as you just said. Getting into that gem grab set was a very, very strong morale, able to steal that set away. And now it's 2-1. We're going to be moving on to Bounty on Shooting Star once again. We've had some Shooting Star action earlier. I mean, the brawler picks I would expect here pretty similar to earlier. Probably some Piper, some Nani, maybe some Mr. P as well, or obviously Tick, the most dominant brawler right now on this map in the center area. So good. Last Hurrah really carrying the brawler.
Last Hurrah is very good. I mean, you're seeing these Tick supers, especially when it is such a long range or a thrower heavy compositions. The throwers can't do anything to really protect themselves from the Tick super. They just end up having to eat that one. It's such a hard thing to counter when you're playing a thrower, and you nailed it. It's Nani, it's Tick, it's Piper. Huge shot from Marcel, but he takes one in return. Both Pipers put at about 10% HP, having to back off, get out of combat. Nobody claiming the blue star just yet. Everything is on the table here. I have to say, Teddie, my favorite thing that I've watched and that I've seen so far today is the return to sender gadget from Nani. That really, frankly, these games have been a little on the low action side from start to finish. And it is only when those return to senders from Nani start to get involved that the game starts to spice up and the kills start to actually happen.
Yeah, I mean, the reason, you know, gadgets and supers are in the game is to get those openings. And yeah, I mean, definitely return to sender is great at doing just that. Let's see if the snipe comes true. Oh, that's gonna be a miss.
Baited.
That should never have been a miss. Firecrow wasn't even moving.
Yeah, he was not moving. Looked like he had his return to sender shield activated there.
Oh,
so the damage would have been sent back either way. So I think Sinval just wanted to kind of dump that. So he got what he wanted, right? He baited out, I think, both gadgets there, if I'm remembering correctly. I think I saw Tick use
his invulnerability as well. Dumps that into the shield, really just forcing out all of the gadget use. He's playing the mind games, right? Who am I gonna hit? Who am I gonna hit? I'm swerving. Who's gonna get it? Nobody gets it. Just runs it into the wall there. But that's really comes down to the Nanis. Like, when the way they use their supers is really determining how these games are played. Long range shot there from Firecrow, grabs one of the first kills, and Firecrow grabs another one. He's got 4 stars above his head. This could swing no longer the match, as we see INTZ's Marcel grabbing lots and lots of damage and lots of eliminations on his way out there. Bounty, especially on the shooting star map, it can just be nothing happening until all of it happens right at the end.
Yeah, I really want to see that Nani peep again. Yeah, that shot, we missed it because we were talking a bit too much, but that was incredible, actually. Getting that peep down to tank that shot.
Bang.
That was a beautiful timing. Here we have the end of that game. Some beautiful snipes towards the end, and INTZ running away with the win here. Gonna get to match point, 1 win away from the grand finals, from joining CYP for the final stage of this month. And look at this, the Nani impact has been absolutely huge from Firecrow, getting 3 different kills, 7 stars, only dying once. And Sinval, on the other hand, only dying twice, but not really getting any stars or kills this time.
Now, I do want to be fair. Well, a couple of those kills were set up by Piper. Piper did 90% of the damage, and then just one little shot comes in from Nani. And they are good shots, frankly. Like the way like the angles have to come in, and you have to play that and math that out in your head. It's certainly not an easy shot to hit, but everybody kind of doing their part there. And on the surface, these games might seem a little slow. They might seem a little low octane, but when you really start to watch these replays and you see the way that people can tank with their supers and bait out gadgets and return to senders and all these little nuanced things, that's what makes this map interesting for me, because it really has to come down to those micro mechanical moments that you can really only get from these professional Brawl Stars players.
Yeah, exactly. And look, this time we have a whole different story from Clash Latam. We have Mortis. You sound excited about this on a Max as well. Not a brawler you typically see in Bounty, as well as the Poke, obviously, to heal his teammates up. Big tags early on, though, favoring INTZ, but the blue star was picked up by Clash.
Oh my goodness. It's all the mobility for Clash, but all of the range for the boys of INTZ. A lot of damage flying out here. Marcel panicking a little bit there. Doesn't manage to get himself. This peep is not really going to get a lot of value there. I don't know what he was thinking there. He left himself out high and dry. Now the mobility, the healing is starting to come into play as Clash is able to move up, start to get aggressive here. Poco in a tough spot, absolutely trapped in the corner there. Marcel puts the nail in the coffin there and drives home the kill onto Poco. All this mobility, all of this healing hasn't really amounted in much for Clash so far as they get stalled out around midfield.
Yeah, I think this is the kind of comp that really comes down to getting a final push down.
Yeah.
So basically not really having the lead until the end, where you manage to steal a couple of kills because there's a big burst of healing and movement speed. And the way INTZ can counter that is by getting as much as a lead as they can before that end game. And so far they've been doing pretty good. Oh, that's a lot of damage. Guzira might even fool himself. He's able to retreat for now, but it's a 6-star lead. And the more kills INTZ managed to get early on here, the more dangerous it's going to be for Clash.
That's right. The only way to win this is simply just crushing a team fight and then not giving your team or your enemies an opportunity to respond here. It's going okay here in the final push here as Clash Latam. Can they get out alive? 3 seconds. They have a 1-star lead. Look at Sinval. He's going to die and give the final stars over. No, it was so close there. It almost worked out. The mobility, the final push, just like you said, Teddy, that's exactly how they had to play it. But unfortunately, it just wasn't enough there. Max, of all characters, Max did not have enough speed to make it out safely and ends up going down and giving the win over to INTZ.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of the problem with that strategy, especially when they went in a bit too early. There was time still for INTZ to come back, hit those shots, and get those fights going their way. If they were a tiny bit later, you wouldn't have had that awkward position where Max was stuck there with probably no more gadgets left, or maybe one gadget left, but on cooldown. Same for the super, just no super available, and it's a bit of an awkward situation to be in.
It is. It's tough. All the resources were expended, and that's just a summary of, I think, how that game went. Absolutely everything had to be used. Very exciting match overall there. Congratulations to both teams, really. I think they both showed up, and they both played to expectations. This is your 2 seed and your 3 seed going head-to-head here in this bottom semifinal, and that's the type of competition you expect to see. It feels like a lifetime ago when we were watching these two teams on Hot Zone. This was one of your longer matches here today. Both of these teams really showing up in various game modes. This is what we talked about earlier. In these semis, when you have to win 3 different sets, you really need to be dominant across a lot of different game modes. And that's very difficult to do when you're going up against such a competitive team like Clash Latam. There's got to be some weakness, right? There's some chink in your armor that they can take advantage of. And that was almost Hot Zone for them. Gem Grab was certainly a dominant mode for Clash. This was the moment that they really showed us that they belong here in this semifinals. They belong contending with this was that was one of the worst Nani ults probably we've seen here on this map. This was that final moment though. This is that critical last team fight. Sinval grabs that. You see he has his 3 stars. He's just, man, if he would have committed to leaving, do you think he could have maybe squeaked past that tick bomb and survived? I don't know. It would have been close.
Yeah, it was a tough call. I mean, once again, I think they went for that push a tiny bit too early, but at the same time, they had to go when the opportunity presented itself.
Exactly.
So not too much to say here. In the end, I think it was a much deserved win from INTZ. They were just a bit more convincing here. I mean, maybe it's just, you know, a day-to-day match here where they had the better day, but at the same time, who knows?
Exactly. This feels like, you know, on a different day, in a different match with maybe a different lineup of game modes, right? Even if you don't see the Brawl Ball 2-0, where do we sit right now? Do we have another opportunity for Clash to grab this win here? That does do it, though. INTZ are going to be moving on to the finals here. We'll take a look here at the bracket and how things have played out as we have simply one match standing between us and a champion here in the final region of the first round of monthly finals. Brawl Stars Championship kickoff has been absolutely electric. We've gone around the world seeing the best of the best from region to region with all different types of casters, all different type of brawler bands, picks, and really just a fun show all around. So I'm excited to close out this first series of monthly finals with you, Teddie.
Thank you very much, PrettyHair. I think it's been an absolute blast so far. I mean, obviously, we still got those grand finals to come. That's going to be the pinnacle of the action for tonight. CYP dominant teams so far going to be matching INTZ that has been just as dominant on their side of the bracket.
That's right.
Number 1 against number 2 seed. Coming into, you know, the whole seeding thing, I was thinking a bit like, you know, the seeding from the qualifiers where there's still thousands of teams. It's a bit tough to know exactly right now who is going to be the better teams and if the seeding is appropriate. But they're meeting in the final, so I'm not going to be criticizing anything right now.
We've got simply one grand finals left here in the monthly finals. All of these teams are working towards that world championship to grab that trophy. But that trophy has gone missing. Let's take a look and see if we can maybe get a little bit closer to finding it.
In 2021, the world will fight for the ultimate prize, the Brawl Stars Championship trophy. Kept safe behind 8 impregnable doors. It's priceless. It's one of a kind. It's gone! The Brawl Stars Championship trophy has been stolen. We need your help to recover it in time for the World Finals. Stay tuned for further information.
Well, be sure to tune in next month. I'm sure we'll have a few updates on that situation. Yeah, kind of a big deal. We might need that. One of these two teams might want their hands on that. But up now then, the moment we've all been waiting for, CYP versus INTZ. And I gotta say, if you've been in the Twitch chat, Consti, a former INTZ member, does rate CYP very, very highly. So I think that this could be closer than some people might think.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, from what we've seen so far, I wouldn't expect any less. CYP, they dominated through the competition. INTZ, they had maybe a bit of a tougher match right now against CLASH Latam, but a very tough team they had to face to make it to those grand finals. Here you have the players Carrier Zera, VT Zim, and Kyodog gonna be facing, obviously, Marcel, Firecrow, and Tufa. Those are some extremely talented players, Ark.
Yeah, has anyone been tickling your fancy today? For me, Firecrow, I've got to say, has been absolutely popping off. Great to see him now sort of playing with INTZ as he was on the team last year, and now with Asia able to come into the mix. Anyone else that's sort of really impressed you today, Teddie?
I mean, I think that CYP had overall very good team play. I do think that they were maybe missing out a bit regarding versatility. If you look at the comps, they were very repetitive. So I'm excited to see if, maybe INTZ can punish them through the bans, because we've seen them rock pretty much the 2-3 same brawlers the entire monthly final so far, in Jesse, Mr. P, and then the third one a bit more versatile. But I mean, if they ban Jesse over Mr. P, that could be absolutely huge.
I feel like there's going to be a cult ban. I just have this feeling that there's going to be a return of the cult ban. But yeah, I've got to say, I think definitely a shock ban here or there wouldn't go amiss. I mean, it's a really difficult one to weigh up in terms of what is the greater risk. And sometimes, the last thing you want to do really is look back upon in the monthly final VOD and then just kind of like realize that, oh yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done that ban actually in hindsight. But, in general, I would say that, it's safer to ban the front runners and kind of then go from that point on. Just not really sure what the cult is in that sector for me right now.
Yeah, I completely agree, to be honest. I think those bans are going to be really huge in this one. Specifically if they can get a very nicely targeted ban that can really punish a player, or just, like the usual, get comfortable with, the regular bans, Byron, Ruffs, Amber, and so on. So, yeah, I think that's going to be really important. And I think that INTZ, they're definitely the favorites coming into this match with that extra experience, that extra team synergy, and most of all, being on the stage and on the biggest stages for Brawl Stars in the past. CYP, they don't really have that experience. Here we have the ban, and CYP, they're going to go for Max and Amber. So they're going to switch up a bit from the usual INTZ with the classic Byron and Ruffs.
To be honest, I think that makes sense to me. I think that Max, if you're going to take away something which isn't necessarily a meta brawler, a brawler like Max or sometimes even Poco can go a long way. Taking out a Poco for double heal can make a big difference. Max makes a huge difference when it comes to speed in game modes like Brawl Ball, which is our first game mode up. That can eradicate so much from the mix. Many a brawler like Rosa currently in the meta wants to get up close and personal. Brawlers like BB as well, and Max is a great way to counter those things. So I actually really like this ban, but it does open the doors to a lot of other options. Sprout, Mr. P, all those kinds of things. Definitely going to still cause a bit of a ruckus.
Yeah, absolutely. And this also means that CYP, as I said earlier, their most popular brawlers, they're going to be all available. So we'll probably see plenty of Jesse, Mr. P action. That's really the duo that they were playing non-stop. And I understand why. I mean, it's so hard if you have to dodge between the bounces that are going off your teammates and, your own turrets and spawners, whatever not, and the Mr. P luggages as well that just fly around and bounce as well. It's quite, it's quite crazy how much stuff is going down. It's so chaotic, so much action all over the place. And I think it makes sense as well to remove Max from CYP's perspective, because Max is a player that can, a brawler rather, that can really change the dynamic and the pace for the entire team. And getting her out, I mean, it's just going to make it a bit easier and make it so that, if they make a mistake, they're not going to get punished as much, because let's say in Brawl Ball, they're not going to suddenly go from being in offense and suddenly being completely in defense, because that super brought so much extra speed and momentum for their opponents.
Yeah, 100%. Backyard Bowl is actually a wide open map, and Max has the ability to really close the gap quite quickly. And as soon as you're on the defense in Backyard Bowl, it's a really pressurized circumstance to find yourselves in. So I think coming into this next map, what I'm kind of looking for is probably a lot of Colette. I think Colette's in a fantastic place, and the range at her disposal in that scenario is a really, really good option. 8-bit as well, I think, wouldn't be too crazy to see in this circumstance. And I don't know, maybe some Piper, but I gotta say on defense, I'm not a big fan. But yeah, we are gonna see Colette, we're gonna see some Jesse, A-Bit, Mr. P. Looks good to me from both sides.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much mirror comps besides that Colette and 8-Bit. I feel like that's something we've seen very often across multiple regions as well, that you have mirror comps and then the difference maker is Colette and 8-Bit, which kind of, I would say, usually favors Colette a tiny bit in a 1v1 duel, but here, she doesn't even really need to get into the fight as it's going to be his teammate picking up the first kill.
I really like the early positioning that we're seeing from CYP, just kind of really getting to grips early on and you know, getting INTZ on the back foot on defense. Really important thing, especially in backyard bowl, to really assert your authority into the mid. But I do like the way that INTZ are sort of recollecting and regrouping here and starting to fight back a little bit. But I do see Colette Super, and I've got to say, a bit of healing wouldn't go amiss here, and Super might be under a lot of pressure to do anything about this.
Yeah, especially on this map where you have 3 very straight lines on the map. You have the bottom defensive area, you have the center line with open middle, and then you have the offensive area behind that wall, behind those 2 sets of walls as well, where you can take cover. It's important to be able to reach those milestones, reset a bit, heal up a bit, and then move on to the next stage. And so far, CYP, they are doing a bit better at that so far.
Great shots from Kaiser and getting to a nice spot to put maximum pressure onto INTZ. I like the shots over the wall as well from Dog on the right-hand side. But at the moment, you've got to hand to INTZ. They are still holding on and they are not faltering. And that might go to really sway things here as they start to take back control of the mid.
Yeah, they're quick at taking back their positions here. It's going to be going back toward that middle area. And we have some good damage output on both sides there. Dog really low HP, going to be falling back and healing up a bit. But he's going to place his home base, which is going to cost him a bit of healing time. VT low HP gets melted down by Tufa. That could be the opening that INTZ need. Fire Crow, he saw that come immediately, started pushing the ball up really quickly, but he's low HP. Kyozira might try to go for the finish. We're already almost in overtime.
Kyozira's accuracy right now is really astounding me. Free directly impacting, hitting shots from the Jesse there on Firecrow, but the fourth didn't quite go all the distance. We'll have to see going into overtime whether they can make anything of this scenario, but down goes BT Zim early on and past the Dog, but it's a 3 versus 1 potential scenario here. Dog gonna have to do a lot to really do much here as INTZ go on the offense for the first time really in this game. They've been so patient in time, and now they are edging ever closer towards the CYP goal area.
Yeah, they are slowly taking their opponents down, waiting for that opening. That should be it. Firecrow gonna get passed by Tufa. That's gonna be an easy goal here for INTZ. And honestly, Arc, patience was key here, I think, for INTZ.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, especially on backyard bowl, playing defense is a really tough game. And all credit to INTZ for holding on as long as they did and just, you know, keeping calm under that pressure, because overtime was really what they were hoping for. As soon as those boxes went down, they were able to make use of their accuracy and their range. Look at the stats here between BT Zim and Firecrow as well. Not really much to say on the BT Zim side of things. 3 deaths, Firecrow with 2 kills, 1 goal scored, 1 death. But for me, the story of the day has got to be their ability to survive under that pressure.
Yeah, exactly. And we talked about it earlier in other matches. It's always hard when you are defending so much, because sure, it's a bit easier to defend than attack. But at the same time, if you lose control, if you lose 1 or 2 players, that can be big enough for an opening for the ball to go from, you know, close up to your goal all the way to being, you know, a scoring situation. So not a lot of space to work with, but they did really well. They were cycling those respawns very nicely, making sure there's always someone left alive to defend. Eventually, they found 1 opening, 1 little series of kills, and that was enough to completely take back middle control, get to overtime, and get that goal.
So I think, you know, the question really here for me is, like, you know, if you're CYP, you know, how do you go into this next game? Personally, for me, they've got to be more aggressive, and they've got to go into a position where they start to capitalize on confirming the kills whilst they're in that sort of chokehold. They were really great at getting position, but when they were in position, they didn't really do enough to make it count. Big changes though here for INTZ.
Yeah, indeed. We have a Poco double tank situation that is going to be quite interesting, but because of the cover, I mean, Tufa is not really able to support with too many heals there, and they're gonna lose 2 players. Tufa falls as well. That's a team wipe, although Firecrow is back in the action with a bubble as well. Let's see if he can find any connection. He won't. And that's going to be a push from CYP once more. Can they convert this time towards a goal?
Kaiser with the value coming in. Swiped down, though, by Dinho there at the end. But what a great positioning. I've got to say, again, this is what I loved so much about the first game with CYP. Getting into these really aggressive side lane strong arms, but again, that same story of just not being able to finish it. Kaiser did great to cycle there, but the end result just didn't really match up for me.
Yeah, I think they're great at taking control. They just haven't been able to convert any of those pushes into a concrete goal. And even though control is great, in the end, what you need in Brawl is going to be finding those goals. And so far, I mean, CYP not really able to make that work just yet. They are going to be looking for some extra supers here, particularly VTZim, and they are going to try to go back for a push. Can they find any openings, and can they actually transfer this momentum into a proper goal?
Great pitching between VTZim and Kaidog there, as Kaiser just has to wait until overtime, really, and then he's going to really come into his element. And that's the thing for me right now, that I do find INTZ are going to really struggle if they don't make some plays within the next couple of seconds. Going into overtime could be a really, really risky thing for them. Not really going to be the same approach in terms of strategy in that respect. They don't really want to go into overtime with this kind of comp without some good, strong poker heals at their disposal. Otherwise, this one could be tricky.
Yeah, we'll see how long INTZ can defend. Overtime is about to kick in. This time, CYP, they are closer to INTZ's goal, and that's definitely going to be really important, but they don't really have control of the ball either. We'll see how that's going to turn out, as we only have 10 seconds left before the map completely opens up. Walls and bushes gone. INTZ pushing forward as we get closer to overtime. Then they get this final push, and once again, with one offensive action, make something happen. It doesn't seem like it, though. There's a strong push from INTZ. That's going to be the goal, from CYP. And they take this one home. Finally, they're able to convert those pushes into actual goals.
Kaiser is playing exceptionally well for me right now, and patience there, I think, again, was the key for CYP, and just not falling into that trap of dropping the ball into overtime, because genuinely, if there was a couple more hills from Tufa, but I've got to say, Tufa didn't really get a look in that game, and nor did Dino. There was really nothing happening from INTZ side. It was just all, CYP controlling the situation and waiting for overtime to capitalize. They've got to change the brawlers for me to really be able to stand the heat in those scenarios, and I think those changes just a bit too much for me too early on.
Yeah, I think it was also not really necessary, to be completely honest with you. They have the lead, and we've seen them in previous matches going for those kind of moves where they win a game with a comp, they win it fairly nicely, fairly comfortably, and then they switch comps and it doesn't work out. It happened in Hot Zone against Clash Latam earlier, and it's a bit of a scary strategy, because you lose momentum, you lose some confidence going for those kind of moves, because you're switching up from something that was working just fine towards something that is a bit more risky, and I just don't really see the point of that arc.
I mean, sometimes risk is a good thing, and we have seen moments where, having those shock brawlers come into the mix kind of takes the team by surprise and throws out their kind of meta ideas really out into the open. But for me, I just felt like, I just don't feel like the Jackie really came into the mix enough. I feel like it was just kind of a bit redundant, really, especially when the map kind of lends itself so much open to range. Brawl like Mr. P for me is so good at being able to put pressure and continued pressure with the portals coming into the mix. And again, we're seeing that same thing. It's INTZ at the moment sort of behind that cover, and a lot of the aggression much more in the side of CYP early on.
Yeah, pretty back and forth start so far. Both teams still kind of staying on their side of the map, going for some small little ticks of damage left and right. We're going to be waiting for a bigger opening here for a team to push to the next stage and get closer up. That's going to be VTZim picking up kill number 1. Now CYP, they have a bit more control. Dog just get quite heavily actually by that porter.
Oh, shutdowns Kaya0 there as Firecrew gets great value and advancing on towards BT Zim here. Great chance here for INTZ if they can start to just confirm things, getting CYP on the back foot for like the first time really in Brawl Ball. And yeah, you can see just how much these brawlers have changed the shift of focus now from INTZ as they really start to get CYP struggling to hold their defense. And this is where we're going to see a big difference. Before INTZ were so good on their defensive capabilities, can CYP do the same now?
Yeah, INTZ, they are pushing them back. Finally, it seems like they're kind of in control of this game. Earlier, it was a bit more like just defending and hoping for an opening at some point and getting that clutch goal towards the end. I think that the big problem they had with that previous game is that they were playing Poco Double Tank, probably the most aggressive comp in the game, and they were in defense the entire match. This time, they're already more aggressive, and hopefully for them, they can turn this into a goal.
This could be a great chance for INTZ as Firecrew gets maximum value, bouncing shots between BT Zim and Kaya0. Kaya coming back into the mix here. He's got to find an opening to get this ball free. This is a disastrous place for CYP to find themselves going into overtime here, as there are supers all around the INTZ players who've sort of backed off a little bit here, but I'm sure just getting themselves grouped up ready with max HP going into overtime right now. This is a lot of pressure on the hands of CYP.
Yeah, they are getting some good tags. I really like that. Once overtime kicks in, you need to find some kind of an opening if you're defending, some kind of a kill or a lot of damage. Here you have the kill on Tufa. VT getting a ton of value on both brawlers here from INTZ. They're both one shot. This is a really good situation for CYP suddenly, although Tufa comes back from the dead and he's going to be hitting his own shots as well. Let's see if CYP can find an opening.
Credit where it's due, CYP did fantastically well there just to stay composed, and I like the way that Kaya really focused on the portal spawns to get it down. But look at this! A great shot! Oh my word! BT Zim with the double kill to end it all. The MVP giving CYP the advantage now in the sets. What an end! Great plays from him.
Yeah, that was really beautiful, especially since he was facing an 8-bit, which obviously, like, clearly did not have the movement speed to run towards the ball and pick it up. So perfect play here, perfect decision. And honestly, VT, I mean, PrettyHair talked about him earlier, saying he was really shining particularly well in that team. And once again, he is clutching up and he is showing some really impressive individual performance as well. Obviously, the team doing really great. But yeah, I just want to point out, he is mechanically doing some pretty impressive stuff today.
Yeah, but for me, Kaya0 was just landing so many shots that game. And just like, I think BT Zim did really, really well. Making the shots count and hit when it mattered most. I think the turning point was absolutely going into overtime, actually, when CYP really had to just avoid grouping up together, because Firecrow is getting a lot of value playing Jesse, a very, very accomplished player that they've got to be very, very cautious of. But that ending was just, honestly, for me, fantastic. Checking out a few stats as well. BT Zim versus Tufa. They're playing both the 8-bit brawler and pretty similar, except for the goal being scored by BT Zim at the end of those games. But overall, everything else matches up between the kills and deaths.
Yeah, it was pretty close, to be honest. I mean, CYP, they're impressing me. They're honestly impressing me. I did not have a lot of knowledge on that team. Obviously, INTZ, the big name, especially on an international, intercontinental level. They have a lot of reputation behind them. And CYP, they are honestly doing extremely well so far. We're going to be moving on to dueling beetles next in Hot Zone. Do you have any thoughts concerning the map?
The map for me is very much a question of choosing what zone to capture first, where you want to position yourselves, and whether you want to go on the aggressive early on and take a risk, or whether you want to play it safe, capture your own zone and go from that point on, really. I think it's definitely going to lend itself to specific brawlers. I think the Colette could be a good shout here as well. Again, definitely Jesse, I think, would be a solid shout also. But the question is, are we going to see the third time today the game end with only 1% in it? That to happen twice in one stream is pretty impressive, but we're going for third time lucky here, and I personally want to see it happen.
I think that if it's anything like the rest of the day, I'm expecting nothing less than a 99 to 100% victory once again I don't know. I think this is a really interesting map to kick things off, especially, you know, with that one large zone in the center, which is going to lead to so many like close-up fights and really intense action. I really enjoy those maps with one zone because you really get that 3v3 effect, which, you know, when it's split a bit more apart, you end up having some 2v1s or some 2v2s, and it's a bit less like complete here. It's really going to be just an all-out brawl for the center control.
Yeah, Rosa especially here, I think could be a good shout. I mean, she's very, very dominant in the mix, but you know, having BB as well with batting stance could be a good shout also. That's a brawler which can really push around a lot of the action and shape the game to come. We are going to see Sprout, we're going to see Colette as well. Yeah, Sprout is also an option here. Definitely going to be both Simpson star power, no surprises there as they fight for the center.
Yeah, it's a really interesting approach where we used to see a lot of tanky brawlers and a bit more close-range brawlers, such as INTZ as well, making quite a few appearances in only other monthly finals. Here we have a bit more of a long-range play with the Sprouts and surprisingly also some penny action. That's not something we see every day.
PrettyHair for me though is a really viable option, and we see her quite often actually. You know, that sort of L-shaped tile on the right and left hand side is such a great asset to her being able to place her turret and you know, really only handle with care with Mr. P's a good counter to it, getting behind to really put any damage on it. And if you haven't got the wall breaker, it's really difficult to get that turret out of position. And Dog on that right hand side is the ideal person to take it out, and he's out of the lane, so that turret could be there for some time.
Yeah, I agree, and I just want to point out that Firecrow started off on that right lane. He switched just to, you know, not be facing Dog anymore and have that turret a bit in a safer area. So you're really right about that. The problem, though, for INTZ is that they are 70% behind in capture time, and CYP, they don't need a whole lot more to win this one.
Yeah, doing a really, really good job of just kind of bouncing the objective between each other. So at the moment there, we saw Kai0 just capping for a lot of the time and then sort of passing the baton on to BTZim to try and get some additional percentage. But now it's INTZ that are starting to recollect themselves in the mid here and gain more control. And this is a really, really tough spot now for CYP. And as it is for any team looking to regain control in Hot Zone, getting control of the mid back when you've lost it is a really, really difficult thing to achieve.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that come from INTZ, they don't have very heavy damage dealers. The problem is that it's pretty much impossible to dodge everything they're going to be throwing at you. There's going to be a mortar shooting at you, a Sprout that can shoot above walls or get some nice bounces, as well as obviously, you know, the penny shots that stack up, the Jesse shots that also are going to be bouncing amongst each other. We're only 3% left here for CYP to take the win. Nice super, that's gonna get 2% more. They just need to run in the zone, and Dog with VTZim are gonna do just that. CYP, they take this first game of Hot Zone home. So far, convincing start in the grand finals arc.
Yeah, really, really great momentum, and you know, at the moment INTZ now really needs to start responding to it, and you know, not too much difference in terms of the action, just except for me, CYP were just so much better at just taking the control of the mid. There wasn't really a ton of difference, except for that fact, really, just being able to really bounce that between each other, the responsibility of capping that zone, such an important asset here to really capitalize on. CYP just continuing that same pressure forwards into Hot Zone.
All right, we have some stats coming in, and look at the difference of DPS here. Even though both Sprouts got just as many kills, a lot more damage from CYP. I'm not entirely sure what this is due to. Maybe just Tufak going more, you know, for those finishing kills, a bit more of an assassin Sprout in this matchup. I'm not entirely sure, but honestly, I just feel like CYP, they were much more in that game. They had control from basically percentage 1 all the way up to 73 or something like that. Quite a massive lead.
You know, for me, Sprout's working really, really well. I think there's no question about it. I think there's some really, really solid walls in that game in general, and just shutting down the mid lane makes such a difference when it comes to trying to, you know, redirect some traffic and get control back. But you know, I've got to say, there is a place for me to see BB start to make an appearance. Getting that pressure, you know, to come around and flank on the side routes could be a really good option here. For me, the penny turret was okay, but I think it does run the risk a lot of the time of being like just baited around the map. We saw that in previous weeks when players were very much aware of the impact of that turret, and if it's locked onto you, you can just kind of keep moving and keeping it away from your teammates who are able to get more control over the mid. But definitely some changes, I feel, in terms of the brawlers here to be had. Potentially some Jackie, some Rosa, or a BB, something to mix things up a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a Mr. P, but on the other hand, CYP, they changed all 3 brawlers. We have a triple tank situation. If you consider Mortis as a tank, he's going to go in immediately with skill number 1.
The aggressive stance so early on from CYP, just going in, guns blazing. Dog so far up the map, the entirety of INTZ now are really scrabbling to get back into this great cycling going on from Dog, who's continuing on the pressure too far. Almost went down, and it's not over yet. Zero coming in for good measure also. The Sprout will just shutting out INTZ, and 50% has already been capped from the middle at this point already by CYP.
I was scared about the versatility for CYP because they played the same 3 brawlers basically for the whole quarterfinals and semifinals. But here, 2 games with completely different comps, and they are dominating the same exact way. Oh my god, Dog is insane. Just going in there with those skills, bats all over the place, and CYP, they're looking really incredible tonight, Art.
There as well with a double takedown as BT Zim gets the final swing. Honestly, this was the play that we needed to see from INTZ, and we just didn't. They've got to start adapting when things are not going their way, because right now CYP are not slowing down.
Yeah, I feel like there are some things that INTZ, they just need to work on before next time. Obviously, there's still a bit of room to play here, but it's already 2-0 in sets. They really need to be careful from now on. And what surprises me is we've seen INTZ go for some pretty interesting comps, but every time it was right after they won. We haven't really seen them adapt properly after they lost. And in my opinion, that's the moment where you need to adapt the most.
Yeah, you've got to start to mix things up and take the opposition by surprise. CYP, for me, at the moment, are really, really interesting to watch and observe, like how they're just keeping the aggression and the pressure on. INTZ not sort of being too concerned about their past reputation as such, and just keeping things fresh. That goes such a long, long way. And the Mortis pick there from Dog just made such a difference. You can already see the DPS there much more in his favor over Firecrow playing Penny. And, INTZ in the past have shown a really strong resilience to be able to turn things around. So I don't think they're out of the woods just yet, but I think definitely still a good opportunity for them to be able to shine and take some control back here.
Yeah, I just want to point out, man, 372 DPS from a Mortis. Mortis is a brawler where you can only get damage if you're like extremely up close and you spend half of your time and ammo just moving around the map. The fact that he gets this high levels of damage on a Mortis is extremely impressive, because it's not really a brawler where you consistently get tags from afar and get that DPS up easily. You really need to get in there, get so much value up close. And I mean, we saw that he was playing terrifically well. Ark, we're going to be moving on to Hard Rock Mine next. Any brawlers or comps? I'm thinking of Rosa mainly that could really come in clutch here for INTZ. Do you have any other options for them?
We have some Rico earlier today, and I've got to say, it worked out really well when in the instances that we saw it, but Rosa would be a good shout. Surprised that we haven't actually seen her yet, to be completely honest. So maybe some hesitation there, but I got to say, it's the perfect map for her. Colette is another brawler which we haven't really seen played too much on Hard Rock Mine today, but does a really, really solid job. Jetsy, I think, is a pretty safe bet, but it depends as to how they want to play. Well, at the moment, CYP, I think that Mortis is the way forward. It's going to come straight back in with Mortis, Poco, and we are going to see some Rose, but look already, INTZ are pushed back straight off the bat.
Yeah, once again, it's kind of the first time I see this so consistently in a region, but we have 6 different brawlers.
Yeah, I mean, quite versatile really in the South Latam region today. We are seeing a fair amount of that occurring, like where we've just had sometimes the mirror match, but more often than not, we have seen a good variety of brawlers on the mix. But they've shown down the Mortis for me, for my INTZ, is a good start as VTC now forced into a spot too. So they are starting to adapt to the comp, and Viper shutting down that side there. I think it's a wise move. It just allows the focus to shift over to the right-hand side of the map.
Yeah, CYP, they had initial control, but they're going to lose it. Dog is going really aggressively in the action here. He's going to survive as well. That's a strong push from CYP. They're running away with 8-9 gems. Now one more, and that's going to be countdown. That would be match point unless INTZ can interrupt it. 10 gems now on CYP and 15 seconds away from match point. INTZ, they need to step up, and they need to step up big time, Art.
I don't think they can, because Dog is running riot as he continues to absolutely dominate the INTZ spawn. Firecrow can't do anything about it, but if you just notice at the top of the map how much hassle he was causing, like he didn't have any gems, as you know, ideally you want to avoid playing Mortis, but at the moment, I really do need to feel as though INTZ are going to take the Mortis threat seriously here, because honestly, this has got to stop. Dog is out of control.
Yeah, he's playing out of his mind, and I think the cherry on top of the cake here is that he was literally sent as a distraction, as some extra meat to just buy some time, and he killed everyone. Like when they were falling back, he was just sent there on a suicide mission. He wasn't even meant to come back alive. And then suddenly you're looking and he killed every single brawler on INTZ and just walks back like it's nothing. Like he wasn't even meant to come back alive, and he's just chilling, getting that triple kill and just falling back.
You know, Sprout is a brawler in particular which really struggles in those interactions when there's a Mortis on the field. So, you know, I think that it might be time for INTZ to make some exceptions to adapt. I mean, I do get it. Sprout is a really, really strong brawler in Hard Rock Mine, but they do have to start to make some changes, and time is ticking here. We have not got long left, and if they don't start to make some changes and really knuckle down, you know, I've got to say, for me, the max ban, I think, is coming into a big play here, because that would be an ideal brawler to bring out in this scenario, to try to, you know, sort of mix things up, and you know, speed is a really hard thing to be able to counteract.
There's no change.
We are not going to see, but no Mortis at the same time, so maybe it's a good shout.
Yeah, I guess, but still, I mean, INTZ today, they've had some pretty interesting decisions regarding the comps. They haven't been working out as well as you'd expect from such a huge team. They are going to be starting off all right, I guess, not doing too bad in those initial fights. VT is going to die with a couple of gems. Kayozira trying his best to pick up as much as he can, but there's still a lot of gems in the center arc.
Gems in the center as well, and you know, that's a good thing for INTZ. They need to get them. They need to start asserting their authority, and you know, we are now at a point where there is no turning back. A nice gadget from Tooth there to get out of the danger zone, but at the moment 5 gems in the pocket for CYP, who in terms of their positioning are for me in a better spot also. And right now, you know, we're match point. There's no time. INTZ, you gotta do something, and you gotta do something now.
Yeah, indeed. I think it was all the Mortis action. We kind of forgot what's at stake here. CYP, they're 2 gems away from that countdown. That countdown that would give them the title of monthly champions for Latam South, and I can tell you they're hungry for it. INTZ just as hungry, but they aren't really able to stop them just yet. That's the countdown now for CYP. INTZ, this is their final chance, their final push. They need to find some sort of value, but they're getting melted down on each side of the map. Kaiser with yet another kill. He's so low though. Oh, he barely survives, but CYP, they take it home, Arc. 3-0 in sets.
Kaiser was hanging on by the skin of his teeth. I mean, literally, one little shot here or there could have made all the difference. But what a turnout, and what a difference and contrast to what we saw last year. You know, INTZ were, for me, the team to beat today. They made the grand final last year. I mean, that is a pretty big, you know, medal to prove. And CYP did it. Like, I mean, that is for me a huge turnout for them. They've got to be proud of that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an amazing performance on their end. Personally, I mean, I was very, very surprised by how well they did consistently across the entire day. I don't think they lost a single set, did they? Or maybe like one, but they did amazingly well throughout the entire day, really just blowing out the competition, not really giving them any chances of getting anywhere or building any kind of momentum. Look at those plays. I mean, Dog on that Mortis. What I think is the craziest is that we pretty much only saw him play Mortis in the grand finals. How did CYP manage to hold on to that strategy all the way until the end and just dominate throughout every other match just as much?
For me, if that was intentional and that was like a secret weapon, I think that was one of the smartest things. But you know, they're you know, from the Twitch chat and constantly verifying that these teams do go back a long way. They have had some run-ins in the past. I've got to say that I think that they will be relatively aware of each other's play styles. But you know, for me, that Mortis playing from Dog in that matchup was honestly just the icing on the cake.
Yeah, exactly. Such flashy plays, especially in the grand finals. You love to see it. But yeah, I really agree with what you're saying. What surprises me is, you know, the more they're used to scrimming and practicing against each other and playing in local tournaments, I feel like INTZ should have been a bit more aware of you know, Mortis being an option here, and they didn't really bring a Colette or anything that is still versatile but also counters Mortis and most tanks to a certain extent. So, you know, maybe INTZ not on their best day today, but CYP, I think they performed out of their minds.
I agree. I actually want to hear from PrettyHair as well as to what his thoughts were on that. I know he's been watching in the background and keeping a close eye on things. What was for you the most exciting part of that matchup?
It's obviously Mortis. I mean, Mortis is like, based on everything I've said today, like, I love watching the high mobility brawlers, the aggressive play styles, and Mortis is the literal embodiment of all of the things that I enjoy about watching Brawl Stars. He is so fun. I mean, watching this guy line up his triple bats to stay alive, lifesteal a ton of HP, the way he plans out his assaults with the coiled snake. I mean, everything that you do is so high pressure and almost a surprise factor in and of itself. Once it's in the game, you're like surprised to see it because we haven't seen it all day. And then the way he plays it is just a perfect cherry on top to that surprise. I think it was so high pressure that you're just on the back foot the entire time. It's a very hard thing to respond to.
Yeah, when it's played well, it honestly does shine. If you just joined the stream, guys, I hate to break it to you, you missed some action, but we'll take a look at the brackets just now to see how today went down. If you want to kind of like catch up on all the stories here to be had, it was CYP who were victorious today. They had a clean run of things, didn't drop a single set all day long, so congratulations to them. But a valiant attempt from INTZ to stop them in their tracks. So first place will get 100 points then, so CYP well off the mark then with some fantastic points. Second place will get 70 points, so INTZ definitely not in a bad spot at all. But, you know, they've also got a big competition now to keep up with. CYP are going to be tough to beat going into the next few weeks and months to come. So, you know, that's another thing to remember is like, you know, these points make a big difference.
It's a long road though, man.
Yeah,
it is a long way to go, month after month after month. Teddy, we talked about it a little bit earlier as well. It's like, even if when you're making top 8, like you're in a pretty good spot. The winners are getting the lion's share of stuff, but I think especially for a lot of these newer teams that we don't know so much about in a budding scene like Latam South, you're feeling pretty good if you're making it to this top 8 today, and especially for if you're, you know, the boys taking home the lion's share. The 100 points is a great way to kick off your monthly finals start.
Yeah, for sure. But in the end, the BRAWL STARS Championship is going to be all about consistency across the entire year. Performing well in every single monthly final is going to be so important, because getting points right now is very nice, but you're going to need to get this many or even more points every single month if you want to go to the World Championship.
Yeah, hopefully we find the trophy by then.
Well, yeah, I mean, we need to find the trophy. That's a pretty big on the to-do list. Well, let's take a look at the leaderboards to see who's most likely at the moment to be in with the runnings. I mean, it's the first month, so plenty more to come. But yeah, CYP absolutely dominating. INTZ not far behind. Clash Latam today, yeah, is a team that we didn't really discuss too much, but pretty much joint then with free agents with a pretty decent chance, and some other honorable mentions there. Also, you know, it'd be very interesting going into the next month to see what other teams might rise to really combat it, because you know, there's so much opportunity this year, PrettyHair. That's one of the great things about the format.
That's right. I mean, you look at these points, and we talk a lot about the way they're being distributed today in the top 8, but points are also awarded during that Swiss format. That's why the totals kind of seemed like all over the place and not clean. So as long as your consistency, you know, that's exactly what Teddie said. I think you nailed it right there on the head. You have to be doing well in the Swiss format to even make it here, but doing well in the Swiss format can net you some points. So you can have an off week, and it's not gonna be the end of the world there. You can get knocked out in the first round of this top 8 if you're an INTZ. Like, you can afford that off week as long as you're doing consistently well. There's plenty of opportunities to grab some points.
Exactly that. So many top plays today as well. Teddie, talk us through this one. Let us know your thoughts and whether it matched up with you. And you know, for me, I've got to say, I did feel like, in particular, we saw almost this happen 3 times, right?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. A 1% victories. I don't know how this is even possible. Like, statistically, what are the odds of getting it happening twice in the same day, and only having a couple of games of Hot Zone in the first place? Look at those nasty bubbles as well. Great stuff across the board today. Those were so close. It's not even a full second. A tick is like even less than a second. It could have gone the other way. It was just about getting into that zone slightly faster. So honestly, insane that sometimes, you know, so much is at stake, but it comes down to such small details, and they're the ones that make the biggest difference.
Exactly that. And talking about what's at stake, I mean, there's a lot of prize money. We got the global standings to check out to see how this kind of all comes together into the grand scheme of things. So we've yet to see this before. I'm kind of curious to see at the moment where things are at. Look at this, INTZ and CYP for Latam South rocking it. Stamina Esports and Tribe Gaming are the 2 teams to watch in the NA and Latam North regions. Queen 9 Jupiter for East Asia had a really good month. Also Zero Zone and Ladder Warriors on the EECA and SCSA and ANZ regions. For EMEA, look at this, FA Trim, Master Clappers, EXO Free Agents, SK Gaming, and AC Milan Clash doing super well. Watch out for them in the months to come. In mainland China, Trick of China, TIG as well, having a fantastic month of things. PrettyHair, talk us through your thoughts. How have you found the first month, and who you got your eye on going into?
I'm excited, man. I definitely have a special place in my heart for some of those teams coming out of North America. I recognize some of those players from way back when we first started to get started with Brawl Stars Esports, and just seeing that evolution. You could take me right now, and I would put a stamp on those 16 teams that I just saw, and I would love to watch that bracket at the World Championship. But I'm gonna be patient. I'm gonna let them all duke it out. I'm gonna let everybody have a chance to kind of get a seat at that table. It's gonna be a long road, boys. We are in for an exciting season here in 2021.
100%. And also, just to remind you guys, make sure you come back on the 4th of April at 3 p.m. CET. That is where we are going to continue things on with the EMEA region. Teddie, you casted that region with myself last time round. What can we expect coming in to that cast?
I think we can expect some pretty awesome stuff, especially with some big names not qualifying previous or actually this monthly final. Then I'm sure we'll see them next monthly final, or some other new team, some fresh blood on the field. And honestly, I'm expecting some pretty awesome stuff, man. I think that getting a couple of those teams that we missed out on this month, just seeing them in action again after it's not been a year, but after a couple of months of season. I can't wait, man. I mean,
you look at that world leaderboard, right? And you look at the 5 slots available for EMEA, and you talk about, big names that haven't qualified. I mean, that is a formula for some incredible action coming down to the wire. Who's going to make it into that top 5 for EMEA? It's a really, really big question mark.
Yeah, exactly. And with so much potential here with teams that are able to, really shine and make themselves known, and maybe teams that have not had that chance before. I think the competition now is really blowing wide open. Guys, you do not want to miss any of the action to come in the next monthly finals. Again, just a reminder, the next monthly final will be for the EMEA region on the 4th of April at 3 p.m. CET. Make sure you are following Brawl_esports on Twitter. That is the best place to keep up with all the action. You will not miss a stream. Follow on Twitch, subscribe on YouTube. Those things go without saying. Guys, I've got to say, it's been a pleasure casting with you both today. Any final thoughts before we sign off?
Absolutely. I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, I'm excited for this season, guys. I'm glad to be invited back here. I'm glad to be sitting next to guys like you in this beautiful little esports scene that has developed over the past couple of years. This is such a fun game to watch. We've already seen some really exciting action in just the first cycle of these monthly finals, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the year.
Sorry. I want to give a particular shout out to the free agents team because we've seen so many across all the different regions. Just want to say, keep looking for an organization to represent, org owners, team owners at home. So much talent to invest in. This is your chance. You've seen what they are capable of. Just go get them. That's all I have to say about them.
I want to again give a quick shout out to all the guys behind the scenes as well, Sebastian and the crew doing this type of global broadcast. We have our producer Anthony on this, scheduling all this stuff with people from all around the world, and just it can be a scheduling nightmare sometimes for these guys, and they really put in a lot of work to make these broadcasts awesome for you and to make all of this happen in a really trying time in the world.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't have said it any better. Absolutely. Guys, it's been a pleasure. From myself, from PrettyHair, from Teddie, thank you guys for watching. We hope you enjoyed the stream. Just a last reminder, that time, because you need to come back for the EMEA region. It's got to be done. April the 4th at 3 p.m. CET is where we will be next time round. Until then, we will see you guys later.
Mm-hmm.